Funding for the 2018 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Streetcars rolling down the tracks and Iberia Bank both are part of today's New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. The Gustav Westphal McElhenney Family Foundation supports the renewal of New Orleans and the ongoing process of transforming our city's schools. Rex organization volunteers and the Pro Bono Publico Foundation are helping assure that every child in New Orleans can attend an excellent school. Brennan's Restaurant offers Chef Slade Rushing's modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, Roost Bar, and Courtyard. Brennan's, over 70 years in the French Quarter. 417 Royal Street. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com. The Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is also sponsored by the Riley Foods Company and French Market Cold Brew Coffee, New Orleans' own soul-fueled coffee concentrate.
From that first interview with the customer, you become a friend.
We're the local guys. We're there to work with them, and we know them and they know us. We're not answering to some far-off corporate office someplace.
Our bank has always been a part of the community.
Christwood, a retirement destination located in St. Tammany Parish, features cottages and apartment homes along with the assurance of quality health care. Personal tours are available. The New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation wishes visitors and citizens a happy Mardi Gras during New Orleans' tricentennial year. New Orleans visitor information is available at neworleans.com. Support comes from Emmett Dupas, Wealth Management Advisor at Northwestern Mutual, specializing in finding solutions to help companies and their employees reach their financial goals.
Adler's, honored to be part of New Orleans traditions since 1898.
Support comes from Baker Donaldson, lawyers and advisors proud to serve the business community and support local programming. Shaft McCall, proud to celebrate Carnival and honor the monarchs of Mardi Gras and the tradition of service before self. Poydras Home, independent living, assisted living, and nursing care in the heart of Uptown for 200 years. Additional support by Bellwether Technology. Additional funding is provided by the law firm of Adams and Reese, Jonathan C. McCall, and by Richard CPAs. Live from the Sheraton Hotel and the New Orleans Marriott Hotel on historic Canal Street bordering the French Quarter, WYES presents the 2018 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus. And now, here is Peggy Scott Laborde.
Good evening, I'm Peggy Scott Laborde. Welcome to the 2018 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and the Mystic Crew of Comus. We'll visit with Carnival royalty, past and present, and we'll look back at Mardi Gras 50 and 100 years ago. The King of Carnival has already had a busy day. Let's see what he's up to the rest of the year. New Orleans businessman Lyons Robinson Sloss, known as Poco, got quite the surprise a few months ago.
I had thought another gentleman was going to be asked to be Rex 2018. We all gathered in an office awaiting his arrival to let him know that he'd been selected, and one of the members of the group said, "Who in this room hasn't been Rex before that should be?" And the other gentleman turned and pointed at me and said, "Poco," and I was truly surprised by that. It was a great trick that they played on me, something I'm not going to forget ever.
Sloss is the co-founder of Bellwether Technology Corporation, a company providing internet technology services to businesses in the region.
I used to get Popular Electronics every month. I couldn't wait for it to come, a magazine. I'd read that. And in '75, the first personal computer was announced. I read the articles, got out of college, got a job, and I wound up building an MSI 8080 in 1978, which was a computer kit, one of the very first personal computers. That led me to get connected with an investor who wanted to get in the computer business. So we teamed up and got into the business. That was in 1980. But I still have a great love for technology.
Years before His Majesty was chosen as king, other family members have served on the Rex court. His wife, Eugenie Sloss, known as Liz, was a maid in the court in 1978. One of his sons, Alexander Dimitri Sloss, was a page and duke. And his daughter, Nina O'Brien Sloss, was Queen of Carnival in 2013. I
was delighted and a bit surprised to see how poised she was, how she handled interviews and toasts and so forth. I learned from her, calm, it really matters a lot, and preparation is right. I also am a Rex ball chairman, so I do know the ball, I better know the ball pretty well, which is a good thing.
Contemplating Mardi Gras Day when he is mounting the king's throne, Sloss will hopefully achieve a personal goal.
The biggest challenge I've had is a challenge I've had elsewhere, and that's losing weight. So I'm a thin king, is what I'd like to be, but I'm still working on that.
Among this year's King of Carnival's many civic activities is as a board member of the Audubon Institute and fundraising for a new facility for the Louisiana Children's Museum.
I believe that the Children's Museum located in City Park is building on the great success that the museum down in the Warehouse District has had, and it's the right time for that to happen. It's going to be enormously successful and a fantastic project.
Sloss has also been active with Rex's Pro Bono Publico Foundation.
Last year we gave away $1 million to the charter schools, which is, I think, one of the most important causes that we have in the city. And Rex has taken a lead on that and partnered with Zulu in supporting schools, which is a fantastic thing to be doing.
This year's Rex finds time for the great outdoors.
Like a lot of South Louisianians, I like to fish, I like to hunt, particularly like to fish offshore. Probably my most favorite thing now is flying, which I started at 55. I figured it was start now or you'll never get it done, and so I did, and I've been doing that for a while now. It's exhilarating. I think it's great fun. I love it, and it's useful.
Serving as the King of Carnival in the year of the city's 300th birthday is especially meaningful to Sloss.
I'm a lifelong New Orleanian. My family has been here since the late 18th century, and we love the city. So I'm doubly honored to be King of Carnival in the 300th anniversary. It definitely makes it more special. I truly can't think of a higher civic honor than being chosen King of Carnival. I'm very much looking forward to it.
And welcome again to our live broadcast. Joining me this evening are Errol Laborde, editor of New Orleans Magazine and author of the book Mardi Gras, Chronicles of the New Orleans Carnival, and Dr. Stephen Hales, pediatrician and archivist for the Rex organization and author of Rex, An Illustrated History of the School of Design. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. And we want to thank our friends at Louisiana Public Broadcasting. We are being shown statewide on their LPB3 channel, and we're also streaming our broadcast live at WYES.org. You can additionally join us on WYES's YouTube channel. But let's talk about today. Talking about, first of all, Mardi Gras, Errol. I know you were there and you were hosting this and emceeing. It was a busy stage, huh?
Since Mardi Gras started in 1987, it's always been, the Rex arrival has always been at the same location, and that's the stage at Spanish Plaza. This year they had to move because of construction. And there was a while they weren't sure where to move to because there's no other stage nearby that's unoccupied. So the people put their heads together with Riverwalk, the Convention Center, and the Tourism and Marketing Commission. They combined their efforts and their money, and they put up a stage on Julia Street right alongside the Convention Center and Riverwalk. And it was a little bit smaller than the usual stage, but it worked. It was a different location. It was, but there's a good crowd out there and a good reaction.
Absolutely. And here is Rex arriving very nearby, what you've just described.
He's arriving by train, and there's the Royal Heralders.
Yes.
And here's Rex arrives, and Mr.
And
Sloss.
King of Carnival,
and then,
yes.
and the captain.
King of Carnival, Poco Sloss. I do hereby ordain and decree
Landry.
the following.
Mayor
That
Mitch.
during the great celebration, all commercial endeavors be suspended throughout the realm.
I think that's a good idea.
Yes. So that pleasure may rule both day and night. Pleasure is good.
It is my pleasure to introduce to you King Zulu 2018, Brent D. Washington Sr.
How everybody doing? I can't hear you. How everybody doing? All right, all right.
King Zulu, I appreciate what we've done together. I know we've helped some schools together this past year in our neighborhood. I have this gift for you from the Rex organization. I wish you a wonderful reign. Thank you so much.
On behalf of myself, we would like to donate a coconut, one of our Zulu coconuts. Look at it. Does it look great?
I love the fact that Zulu and Rex all year work together to improve our community, improving schools, playgrounds. They're partners, and tomorrow they are going to lead the city of New Orleans and be the light of everybody's eye in the world. Remember, everywhere else except New Orleans, tomorrow is just Tuesday. Here it's Mardi Gras. So, on behalf of the people of the city of New Orleans, the mayor-elect and I, the council members, the police chief, we concur, and we hand the key of the city over to Rex. Hail Rex! Hail Zulu!
Look at this. Hail Zulu. Key to the city. I'm going to open every door. All the beer will flow freely for the people over 21. All the kids will be out of school. Everybody's going to catch a lot of beads. It's going to be a great, great day.
5, 4, 3.
And we saw just now our mayor-elect Latoya Cantrell on the stage too.
And this is
well.
maybe this is the great moments in Mardi Gras. It means a lot just visually. It means a lot symbolically to have Rex and Zulu and the mayor. And let me tell you, the crowd loves it. The crowd goes crazy when Rex comes on stage. The crowd goes crazy when Zulu comes on stage. The crowd goes crazy when they're side by side with the mayor
It's
and they push that plunger down the fireworks. It is really a good, feel-good event that every city can use, and it's a great moment for New Orleans.
It certainly is. And then early this morning, we had the Royal Run at Audubon Park, and this is an old tradition that the late Boatner Riley, who was a former Rex, of course, came up with.
Yeah, we've had a reporter, a guy named Justin Wilson, Winston, who's been there every year reporting on the Royal Run. Yeah, Boatner Riley started this, and so Rex and his queen usually, and the entourage, they go and run. Now, by decree, the queen is the winner, always. Even, which is amazing this year, because she wasn't there. There have been some times when she had other things to do, but she's still the winner, and they still have the run.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good, let's get physical kind of message that that Rex sends.
And Stephen, you have just earlier pointed out to me that sometimes the Queen is not able to participate.
Yeah, sometimes that's the case. I think that that's still a wonderful way to start the day, and Rex doesn't run a whole long way, but sufficiently to get the day kicked off. And always a good memory of Boatner Riley, who's such a wonderful Rex, wonderful leader of the organization, and someone who is...
And his son, Bo, has taken this over.
Bo has taken that over, and
nice
the cannon
tradition.
still fires, and the runners still run, and it's a nice beginning to the day.
Well, let me ask you, you were Rex last year. How did you feel about having to get up early and put on your running togs and go and run?
When one is honored to be the King of Carnival, one goes to the Royal Run and runs, and it's a festive thing. I think this day is such a happy day in so many ways.
Yes.
And it's not just a parade, and it's not just a ball. There are all sorts of rituals that are part of that, and it makes it rich.
And we look forward to visiting with you a little later about some of your memories. But let's talk about what happened this morning at the Rex Den on Claiborne, the flag ceremony. This is kind of a newer tradition, isn't it, Steve?
Yes, especially post-Katrina. I mean, Rex has always had a wonderful connection to the military. We honor our veterans. We honor those in active service. They've been part of our parades, but part of our civic responsibility and our outreach. So it means a great deal to have military bands there. We raise a flag in the morning that was actually sent to us from Iraq, from Louisiana soldiers serving there.
Mm-hmm.
That was 10 years ago. We still raise that flag and the Rex flag in the courtyard.
And, of course, today, the Rex Parade, it's what it's all about, isn't it?
It's what it's all about.
Remind us of the theme.
And after honoring the tricentennial of the city, we focused on that first 100 years. So this was L'Ancien Nouvelle-Orléans, and a nod to the beautiful stories and the colors and the images of that first century. I mean, we've got lots that's happened over 300 years, but that first 100 years set the stage for everything we do.
And one of the favorite aspects of the Rex Parade, though, are the signature floats,
Yes,
such as
indeed.
the Butterfly King,
Butterfly
a fairly
King,
new addition.
The newest permanent float, a really lovely nod to that imagery. And here comes the King of Carnival. Poco's had a wonderful day today. He's brought such energy to this, such passion, just like he does to his civil service. He's a very enthusiastic, very high-energy leader.
And, of course, his queen was on the balcony being received, Miss Sarah Jane
toasting
Holbrook Freeman.
Sarah Jane Freeman, beautiful Queen of Carnival, lovely port. The dashing of the champagne flute afterwards, Poco wasn't quite sure he was supposed to do that, but off it went. The first float, Father Mississippi, we ran this parade chronologically, so starting with Father Mississippi, Iberville and Bienville, and then all the way through to Andrew Jackson, the Battle of New Orleans, St. Louis Cathedral. Lovely nods to the Catholic traditions and origins in this city.
Some very useful history lessons.
Yes, indeed. I mean, we don't want to think this is going to school, but still, there are lessons to learn and memories to restore and images. The Good Friday Fire Float was one of my favorites. I mean, New Orleans is resilient. We've survived fires, pestilence, floods, and we come back stronger and better. The Baroness Pontalba left her mark on this city in a lovely way.
This is one of my
Henriette
favorites.
Delille, who founded an order of
the Sisters
wonderful
of the Holy
story
Family,
there, and De La
of
Salle, of course, and an early explorer of our area. Bloody O'Reilly, who executed those who chased the Spanish out when the Spanish came back. He was an Irish general serving in the Spanish army.
And, of course, concluding with Andrew Jackson himself.
Andrew Jackson.
And, of course, there's a lot of interaction with the website and schools that come and visit. Many of the students come and visit and learn a lot about the history for it.
It is true. We open up the den to school children who come there, but through the website we can reach thousands of classrooms. And so we put our materials there, and some very creative projects are done in classrooms.
Absolutely.
I asked the king what his favorite memory was of the parade, and he said, look, I don't want to sound corny about this, but it was the crowd. The crowd was wonderful. Everybody was happy. It was a beautiful day. It was all upbeat. So I asked the queen what her favorite memory was, and they give awards to the bands. And so she was able to participate in giving those awards, and she said, seeing the excitement. So I think both of them experienced really upbeat people today.
Yes, indeed. You know, for such an historic event, it's only fitting that we include a few historical questions to test your knowledge of Carnival history. We will have 3 questions during tonight's broadcast with some wonderful prizes for viewers who submit all 3 correct answers. And here are our prizes and the first question. Carnival quiz prizes include a one-night stay for 2 at the Inn at Comus House, which includes 2 guided tours of the mansion and a plantation breakfast for 2. A $350 value. The inn is located on the grounds of Comus House Plantation and Gardens in Burnside, Louisiana. A 2018 Rex Proclamation, created by well-known New Orleans artist Tim Trapolin. It includes images of early New Orleans, La Louisiane, presenting one of the earliest city plans, flanked by Iberville and Bienville, and an alligator. A 2018 Rex Parade Bulletin, depicting the designs of the floats illustrating this year's theme, L'Ancien Nouvelle-Orléans, Ancient New Orleans. Parade sketches are drawn by Manuel Ponce, and the bulletin and its corner art are created by Matthew Hales. Both posters are courtesy of the School of Design. A copy of the books Mardi Gras Chronicles of the New Orleans Carnival by Errol Laborde, and New Orleans the First 300 Years, featuring over 20 essays by some of the city's most noted journalists and scholars, edited by Errol Laborde and me, Peggy Scott Laborde. Both books are courtesy of Pelican Publishing, and a DVD of tonight's program. And now, our first Carnival quiz question. During his parade, Rex toasts the mayor at Gallier Hall. Where does he toast the Queen and her court? We'll tell you where to send your answers later in our broadcast. And now we're less than 10 minutes away from the start of the ball, including a performance by the Marine Corps Band New Orleans. But now let's show you some Rex memorabilia. First of all, the Rex Ball invitation. Stephen?
beautiful invitations that really go back to the traditions of the Golden Age. Die cut. This art is from Matthew Hales, but it incorporates some lovely old images from old ball invitations and other Rex images brought together. I mean, 15 years ago, ball invitations have become sort of ordinary, and they're not ordinary anymore. These are invitations people collect. An image of the first King of Carnival, Louis Solomon on horseback, one of the early images of Carnival.
Okay, and then of course we should mention that they were arrived, the invitations, in a special stamp.
Yes.
That harkened of Rex himself too.
Yes, this is a stamp that's used by the organization this year with custom stamps. We can go in very creative directions. That's an old seal from very early in the Rex history.
And tonight's ball program?
Yep, ball program also. Recalls some lovely lithography and beautiful images. Bienville graces the under a crown, the front page of the program, and lovely old images from long ago that make the ball program really something people save and treasure.
And a real highlight of this ball and a few other society balls are, of course, what people are walking on, their canvas. This is a time-lapse photography from Chris Helmke with Foster Awning. It's the 50th year that Foster Awning is doing the Rex Parade, the Rex Ball rather. It takes about 4 to 5 hours to mount the canvas, and in the center, of course, is an emblem of the organization, and in this instance, it is the crown itself. But what's really nice is that a lot of that canvas is cut up and given to art students in local schools. And what about the edict?
The edict. In the early days of the organization, Rex commanded all to come to New Orleans to celebrate Carnival. We resurrected that using old images, and each year on 12th night, Rex issues this edict similar to what would have gone off to railway stations all around the country, commanding people to come to New Orleans and celebrate. Instead of railway stations, now this goes out through our tourism people online and goes out to literally thousands of places, inviting all to come and celebrate.
And of course the proclamation, we can't forget that.
Proclamation, resurrected really is a beautiful art print. Tim Traplin, wonderful artist, created this image of La Louisiane. Iberville and Bienville, part of that, and Lapoget's plan of New Orleans, his early really civic plan that is now preserved in our French Quarter. So lovely images. There's an alligator in there too.
I like that.
Tim,
whimsical.
Tim is a magnificent artist, a dear friend of the Rex organization.
Absolutely.
And has a fanciful touch with his art.
And then finally, the bulletin.
The bulletin, again, resurrects an old tradition of preserving this ephemeral art form, of creating beautiful floats around a theme. We wouldn't know what those early parades looked like if we didn't have the old bulletins. We started 12 years ago making bulletins preserving our artwork. Matthew Hales creates this and creates the corner art, which is a nod to that beautiful tradition of the Golden Age of Carnival. We'll always know what the parades of the Rex organization have looked like because we have brought back that art form of taking float sketches and bringing them together in a float bulletin.
And I know, Stephen, tonight you will be leaving us because you have other duties, but then you'll be rejoining us. But before we let you go and we arrive, the Marine Band will be arriving, of course. Tell us a few memories of last year's reign.
It's a remarkable day. It starts early, it goes long, and what I remember are people. It's very dear to our family. At one point, my float stopped, and all of my grandchildren and my daughters-in-law, 6 of our sons were riding on one float, but they were all there with T-shirts that said, "Hail Papa." Of course, the ball is a glittering spectacle. This is far more choreographed. Anna Yuji was a wonderful, gracious Queen of Carnival. These young women are asked to play a role that is demanding, the grace and the choreography. I mean, I did not realize there were 3 different forms of sceptering one had to learn.
There you go.
There are small scepters and there are large scepters. And at the end of that, as I left the ballroom floor, many memories that I'm still untangling from a very happy blur.
Well, glad to hear memories. Want to hear some more. But now let's take a moment to thank those who made tonight's broadcast possible.
Funding for the 2018 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Streetcars rolling down the tracks and Iberia Bank, both are part of today's New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. The Gustav Westphal McElhenney Family Foundation supports the renewal of New Orleans and the ongoing process of transforming our city's schools. Rex organization volunteers and the Pro Bono Publico Foundation are helping assure that every child in New Orleans can attend an excellent school. Brennan's Restaurant offers Chef Slade Rushing's modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, Roost Bar, and Courtyard. Brennan's, over 70 years in the French Quarter, 417 Royal Street. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com.
From that first interview with the customer, you become a friend.
We're the local guys. We're there to work with them, and we know them, and they know us. We're not answering to some far-off corporate office someplace.
Our bank has always been a part of the community.
Support comes from Emmett Dupas, Wealth Management Advisor at Northwestern Mutual, specializing in finding solutions to help companies and their employees reach their financial goals.
Adler's, honored to be part of New Orleans traditions since 1898.
Support comes from Baker Donaldson, lawyers and advisors proud to serve the business community and support local programming. Additional support by Bellwether Technology. Schaff McCall, proud to celebrate Carnival and honor the monarchs of Mardi Gras and the tradition of service before self. Poydras Home, independent living, assisted living, and nursing care in the heart of Uptown for 200 years.
And we are awaiting the arrival of the Marine Corps Band New Orleans, but I'm so thrilled to introduce to you Cece Langenstein, whose mother and daughter were both queens of Carnival, and of course a long lineage. But we're thrilled that you're here and you're going to help us out when
what a thrill it is to be here.
Welcome our monarchs.
We are so lucky that this day has turned out as magnificent as it was, aren't we?
We really were.
The weather was glorious.
And of course, we remember your mom so well.
Oh.
And not only was she a queen of Carnival, but she was also the protocol expert too in terms of teaching young monarchs etiquette.
She loved it. And now, of course, Shelby Westphal Mills has taken over, and she's training the monarchs and the pages and the Rex organization.
Yeah.
She's doing a beautiful job.
Yes.
So.
And of course, your husband Bill is very involved with the Rex organization himself.
Is.
So your family has had a long history with them.
Long history, and we've loved every moment of it.
Absolutely.
I was talking to the, just as an aside, I was talking to the captain, and he said during the parade, they were stopped at one moment, and this guy comes up to him, and he says, "Captain, I want to tell you something." He says, "That Rex seems like a really, really nice person." And he says, "Seems like the nicest person, the nicest Rex you've ever had."
I can vouch for that.
Okay.
He is.
Now keep in mind that the captain's a former Rex. Okay. But he was saying, he kind of took that to heart a little bit, but yeah.
Some folks have asked why is his name Poco, his nickname, and the story goes that he was actually premature.
Correct.
He was 6 weeks premature, and so he was little. Poco meaning little in Spanish, and that's what his mom called him, and it stuck.
Well, Poco is a very lifelong friend of ours, and he does so much for this community and never seeks recognition, so I'm thrilled to have him receive the recognition that he has today with being the King of Carnival.
Of course, and we are waiting.
He's tons of fun.
Well, tons of fun is a good thing. We're awaiting the whistle for the official opening of our Rex Ball, and of course, as we said, the Marine Corps Band New Orleans. So looking forward to hearing from them. And as we mentioned, the emblem of Rex, the crown, in the middle.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And we are hearing the voice of Mark Romick, our MC tonight.
The Rex organization is proud to salute the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, particularly those serving in combat zones around the world. This evening, we are honored by the presence of the Marine Corps Band New Orleans, led on the march by Drum Major Staff Sergeant Keith Algio from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Established in 1978, the Marine Corps Band New Orleans is comprised of 51 active duty men and women that represent the command of Marine Forces Reserve and their home city of New Orleans. Last year, the band celebrated the centennial of the Marine Corps Reserve, taking their Century of Service program to Puerto Rico, New York, and Massachusetts. Each year, the band performs in over 200 events, from military ceremonies to concerts, parades, and other public performances. In keeping with the Marine Corps band's Fight Tonight mindset, the Marines before you are not just highly qualified musicians, they also maintain their training in marksmanship, physical fitness, and Marine Corps martial arts.
Now taking his position is the officer in charge, Chief Warrant Officer 2, Demarius Jackson from Aiken, South Carolina.
I think it was so loud.
As we celebrate the tricentennial of the city of New Orleans and the rich and vibrant cultural influences brought here by early colonials, the band's first selection is El Capitan. El Capitan was written by John Philip Sousa and was performed in the early 1900s at the original Crescent Theater, now the Roosevelt, New Orleans. New Orleans is the birthplace of that supremely American style of music, jazz. New Orleans native Paul Barberin founded the Onward Brass Band here in 1955. That same year, Barberin would write a popular tune that you might hear one of the many local bands playing on the streets of New Orleans on any given day. Named for the most famous street in the city, the one that people come from all over the world to experience, the band's next selection is Bourbon Street Parade.
band will be performing at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo later this month. They travel over the country, but their base is here.
No Marine Band performance would be complete without the playing of our national march, John Philip Sousa's immortal, The Stars and Stripes Forever.
Bravo.
Wow.
Bravo.
The piccolo soloist this evening is Sergeant Victor Danish from San Antonio, Texas.
Sergeant Danish has been with the band here for many years.
All present, please rise for the presentation of colors and join in the singing of our national anthem.
There are over 120 military guests of Rex here tonight, and you'll be meeting some of them in just a short while.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated.
This is both Chief Warrant Officer
The band's final selection
Jackson's
is
and
the
Staff
Armed
Sergeant
Forces
Algio's first
in honor of
Mardi Gras
all
season here in New
military
Orleans.
members who have served this great nation. If you have ever served, are currently serving, or are the family member of a service member, we ask that you please stand and be recognized when you hear your service song. The United States Army. The United States Navy. The United States Coast Guard. The United States Air Force. The United States Marine Corps.
General David Mize and his wife.
The Rex organization asks that you join together in a warm round of applause for the members of the Marine Corps Band in New Orleans.
Many of the members of the Marine Corps Band have served in both Iraq and Afghanistan. Many of them also trained riflemen as well. Over 280 concerts per year.
You know, it's amazing. Those service songs are all good pieces of music.
They really are.
They're all very stirring pieces of music.
They definitely are.
I love their July 3rd concert at City Park and their Toys for Tots concert around Christmas time. They do a lot for the community, in addition to keeping us safe. Marine Corps Band, New Orleans. And we are awaiting, of course, the arrival of Rex and his queen. The ball has officially begun. And we'll have our two trumpeters. And tonight they are Ben Toman and Dr. Todd Engelhardt.
In the overture they play, they tell me they only play it for Rex. The only place you'll hear it, and it's called the Overture from Babes in Toyland. Exclusively to Rex.
And the Rex lieutenants with their purple, green, and gold costumes. Signature colors, of course, especially for Rex. And to your left is Ben Toman. He's with the Jimmy Maxwell Orchestra, and he's also with the Victory Swing Orchestra at the National World War II Museum. He's played with Mel Torme and Benny Carter, to name just a few. And Dr. Todd Engelhardt is thoracic and cardiac surgeon in Metairie, affiliated with East Jefferson Hospital, but he also plays for the New Orleans Concert Band. If Ever I Cease to Love, Rex's anthem. Hail Rex, King of Carnival, Lines Robinson Sloss, better known as Poco, who has been the president and CEO of Bellwether Technology Corporation since 1988, and his lovely queen, Sarah Jane Holbrook Freeman. And in more recent years, he has served as commissioner of the New Orleans Planning Commission, the New Orleans Public Belt Railroad, the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, and the Board of Liquidation of City Debt. For many years, he served as a member of the board of the Bureau of Governmental Research and was the organization's chairman in 2006. And of course, our lovely queen is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Lewis McDaniel Freeman Jr., and she is currently a junior in the University of Virginia's College of Arts and Sciences, majoring in media studies and minoring in art history. But Cece, quite the Rex lineage.
Oh my goodness. The Freeman family has so much extensive ancestry with Rex. Her grandfather, great-grandfather, and second great-grandfather were all Rex, King of Carnival, as was her uncle. Her father was a duke in 1987, and her brothers also served as dukes in 2014 and 16. She also has numerous aunts and uncles and cousins, including Laura Louise Freeman, who reigned as Queen of Carnival in 1984, and her great aunt, Tina Louise Freeman Woolham, who served as Queen in 1971. Isn't she an exquisite queen?
And her dress, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, but was designed by Suzanne St. Paul, who seems to be designing a lot of dresses, Queen's dresses these days.
We are so lucky to have her in our city. She worked under Vera Wang and Carolina Herrera in New York and decided to come back to New Orleans, and she has just been able to create amazing gowns, and tonight is spectacular.
It really is.
They're being escorted by Christy Brown and King Milling.
And pretty soon you'll meet the Rex pages because they're always keeping busy. You bet. And we should point out that Rex's color, as you can clearly see, is gold. And later on, Comus, both Comus and his queen are in silver.
In 1872, at the time of the first Rex Parade, in the days preceding the parades, there were announcements in the newspaper announcing the arrival of this new King of Carnival. And they said his song shall be If Ever I Cease to Love, which was fairly well known in New Orleans back then because of a burlesque song by Lydia Thompson, who'd been to New Orleans several times. So it was a popular song. And so by newspaper decree, that became the anthem. It's since been put into March time, and it's been the anthem ever since. It died out for a while until the 1950s. The captain, Darwin Finner, brought it back, and it's always a prominent part of it.
And what is so perfectly appropriate tonight is that Poco Slaws has long been ball chairman, and what a view he gets to have.
Right.
And they are awaiting their court.
And they're flanked by their pages, who have such an important role. They
really
help
do.
so much with these heavy mantles. I'm not sure everyone realizes how much they help the monarchs.
Yes, indeed. And our first maid tonight is Miss Ellen Ashley Faringa, daughter of Dr. and Mrs. Peter Anthony Faringa. She is a junior at the College of Charleston, majoring in historic preservation and community planning with a minor in business administration. And she too has some Rex lineage, doesn't she?
Oh,
The
Ellen
family
has.
court.
Her great-great-grandfather was reigned as Rex in 1934, and her great-grandmother, Barbara Bowden, was Queen of Carnival in 1935.
And she is accompanied by Stephen Henry Bowe Jr., the son of Mr. Stephen Henry Bowe Sr. and Mrs. Jacqueline Fontenot Montgomery. He is a senior at Loyola University, majoring in business, and has been on the dean's list. And another one with lineage.
Mr. Bowe's grandfather, Robert Henry Bowe, reigned as Rex in 1998, and his father was a duke in the Rex Court in 1988. His aunt Elizabeth Ann Bowe was a maid in the Rex Court in 82, and his uncle, Robert Sanders Bowe, was a duke in the Rex Court in 1979. So they both have quite long heritage.
They certainly do. And they are accompanied by some former Rexes in the back here. Let's see.
They are accompanied by James Reese, who is very active in the rest.
Maybe one day, right? And
Dennis McDonald, a former Rex.
And next up, Miss Catherine Reese Bickham. There she is, and she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Joseph Bickham. She is a junior at the University of Texas, majoring in corporate communication, and she is a member of Kappa Alpha Theta sorority, and she too has some family lineage in Rex, doesn't she?
Yes, Miss Bickham's grandmother, Marion Hodges, was a maid in the 1950 Rex Court, and 7 of her great aunts all were maids in the Rex Courts, ranging from 1947 to 1956.
And she is escorted by David Merrick Lane Jr., the son of Mr. and Mrs. David Merrick Lane, and he is a senior at the University of Mississippi, majoring in business marketing. And he too has Rex lineage?
Oh, yes. Mr. Lane's great-grandfather, Joseph Merrick Jones, reigned as Rex in 1958. His cousin, Deborah Yugie Valentine, was Queen of Carnival in 79, and his cousin Anna Yugie was Queen of Carnival last year. His uncle, Merrick Lane, was a duke in the Rex Court, and additionally, he's had several cousins that have served as maids in past Rex Courts.
And they are accompanied by Dr. Stephen Hales, who we just visited with, and both a former Rex, and
Michael Kearney,
another
former
former Rex, too. And our next maid is Elizabeth Lockwood Atherton. She is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Kerwin Atherton III, and she is a junior at the University of Virginia. She's a Spanish language and culture major with a technology entrepreneurial minor. And she too has Rex lineage.
Ellie's mother was a maid in 1990 Rex Court, and her grandmother, Elizabeth Poole Burton, and great aunt Alice Poole were maids in 1960 and 1929 courts. Her great-great-grandfather was King of Carnival in 1925.
And she is accompanied by Mr. Frank Mooney Naughty III, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Frank Mooney Naughty Jr., and he graduated from the University of Alabama and majored in marketing, and some family lineage there, too.
The Naughty relatives have been in the Rex Court on numerous occasions, including 7 maids and 10 dukes. Actually, his cousin Elizabeth Shaw Naughty was Queen of Carnival in 91. And actually, he's also a cousin of one of the maids this year, Tally Hodges.
And they, too, are accompanied by 2 former Rexes.
John Kerner III and Mr. Mike Rapier.
Yes. And next up is Julia Ann Charbonnet. And she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Michael Taylor Charbonnet. She is a junior at Rhodes College, majoring in computer science. And she, too, has Rex lineage.
Yes, Julie's aunts, Elise Charbonnet Keegan and Lynn Charbonnet Gibbons, were maids in the Rex Court in 88 and 92, respectively. And her cousin, Walter Galwas, is serving as a page this year. So there's some family already that she will be bowing to.
Her Duke is Mr. William Robert McNeil, known as Will, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Robert McNeil, and is a graduate student attending Louisiana State University, currently pursuing industrial engineering MBA degrees. And he also attended Isidore Newman High School.
Very smart. His interests include cycling, golf, fishing, and hunting. And he is behind them is Jack Laborde, Rex in 2014, and Hunter Pearson.
Yes, indeed.
Another former Rex.
And next up is Bailey Elizabeth Batt, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John August Batt, known as J. Batt Jr. She is a junior at the University of Alabama, majoring in kinesiology, and she's a pre-physician's assistant. She's working towards that. And her dad is Jay Batt, we all remember, as a former city councilman, of course.
She's a very bright young lady.
She is. And she has worked as an intern in the Tulane University Sports Medicine Program. She's accompanied by Mr. Edward James Cock IV, James, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Edward James Cock III. And he graduated from LSU in 2017, majoring in finance, and he has quite the lineage, doesn't he?
He does. He's currently working at Iberia Bank, so we're glad to have him back here. James has a long line of royalty in his family. His father was a page and a duke in the Rex Court. His great-great-grandfather, Robert H. Downman, reigned as Rex in 1907. And his aunt Cameron Cock Meyer was Queen of Carnival in 1974. And his grandfather, James Cock, was a page in the Rex Court in 1940.
And we see former Rexes, Richard Freeman Jr. and Louis Freeman, brothers, both former Rexes, right, Cece?
Yes, and Louis Freeman being the grandfather of our queen.
Absolutely. And Miss Elise Lockett Clay, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. George Clay. She is a junior at Savannah College of Art and Design, where she has a double major in accessory design and performing arts, and she too has a lineage there.
Elise's great-great-grandfather, George W. Clay, reigned as Rex in 1912, and her father was a duke in the Rex Court in 1985.
And she is accompanied by Harold Granberry Tabb III, known as Gran, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Harold Granberry Tabb Jr., and he studied collegiately at Sewanee and Tulane, is majoring in economics and Spanish. It's a family lineage there, too.
Yes. His Grace Stickney Tabb was a maid in the Rex Court in 74, his aunt. And they are followed by Dr. Ronald French, King of Carnival in 2007, and Oliver Delry Jr., who works very diligently
hard behind the scenes.
Yes, for the Rex organization.
Always very busy.
And other organizations, a real Mardi Gras guy.
Really is. And next up is Jane Tally Hodges, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Philip Nolte Hodges. She is a junior at Texas Christian University, majoring in strategic communications with a minor in art history, and she too has that lineage.
The Nolte family, Miss Hodges' grandmother, Joy Nolte Hodges, was a maid in the Rex Court in 51, and her great-uncle, Louis Frierson, reigned as Rex in 1995, while her aunt, Lucille Joy Hodges, was a maid in the Rex Court in 88, and her cousin, William Henry Hodges, was a duke.
And she is accompanied by William Kethley Dossett Jr., the son of Mr. and Mrs. William Kethley Dossett. He graduated from the University of Mississippi in 2016, majoring in accounting, and they are accompanied by some former Rexes as well.
Tally's great-uncle and the former Rex, Lou Frierson, is accompanying her, along with Hardy Fowler, who was Rex in 2012.
And next up, and our final maid, is Shelby Jane Otley White. She's the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Michael Bright White. She's a junior at Southern Methodist University, majoring in advertising and marketing. And her lineage?
Well, between the Whites, the Brights, and the Burke family, there is very extensive lineage here. Shelby's father also was a Duke in the Rex Court, and her brother, Michael Bright White, was a Duke in the Rex Court in 2016. Her cousin, Jane White, reigned as Queen of Carnival, as well as another cousin, Ella Bright. And it goes on, history from there.
And her escort, our Duke, is Morgan Williams LaCorn, the son of Mr. and Mrs. Matthew Phillips LaCorn, and he graduated from Texas Christian University in 2017 and majored in communications, and some lineage there.
Oh, yes, and we hope to see him on film one day. But Morgan LaCorn's father was a Duke in the Court. His great aunt, Charlotte Parker LaCorn, was Queen of Carnival. His cousin, Anna Grace LaCorn, was Queen of Carnival. His uncle, Robert Parker LaCorn, was a Duke in the Court.
And they are escorted by?
John Charbonnet and William Grace. Two faces we all know very well in the Rex organization, and two former kings of Carnival.
Yes, and we have our maids in our court for 2018, and now we'll be welcoming
a wonderful court. They all have incredible resumes. We wish we could have time to tell more and more about each one of them.
Yes, and in just a few moments we'll be meeting some Debs a little later, but we have an award presentation. A few of them, as a matter of fact.
By the way, y'all did a great job with that.
Oh, thank
that was
you.
a lot of information. Y'all did just like.
Thank you.
You did a good.
Yes, just a reminder, we are streaming live. Anybody in the world can watch us at WYES.org or our YouTube channel. My understanding is we're waiting for a very historic personage this time. Many times it is a military dignitary, but I think, we'll have to see.
Maybe something unusual will happen.
His Majesty Rex sends greetings to Jean-Baptiste Lemoyne de Bienville, founder of New Orleans and former governor of French Louisiana. The Rex organization asks that Sir de Bienville please receive its royal decoration.
He looks very familiar, doesn't he?
Very familiar. How appropriate for our 300th anniversary.
Yes, how appropriate.
He too is escorted by John Charbonnet and Bill Grace.
And Mr. King Logan will award Jean-Baptiste along with the captain.
Trying to get it around that historic collar, that's not easy.
Well, they should award the Marquis de Vaudreuil, too, because he introduced balls in
And
New Orleans.
dancing. As it turns out, 50 years ago, there was a similar ceremony.
Yes.
So Rex continues that tradition. I think he's having fun tonight.
Our 50-year queen couldn't tell us a little more about 50 years ago.
That is a jolly, Monsieur de Bienville.
Rex wishes to royally welcome a select group of debutantes who will now be presented to their majesties.
And we will begin with Whitney Caroline Appel, the daughter of State Senator and Mrs. Conrad H. Appel.
Miss Whitney Caroline Appel.
And she is a junior at American University in Washington, D.C., where she is majoring in finance. She was a legislative intern on Capitol Hill for Senator Bill Cassidy as a member of Louisiana political campaigns and as a page to the Louisiana State Senate. Cece, I love their bouquets.
I know they're beautiful. She's escorted by her father, Senator.
Well, I believe it's this tradition that the dads do escort.
They do. A special
for the
time
debutantes.
for the debutantes.
Yes.
And she's done a lot of volunteer work as well in Washington, D.C., working with Make-A-Wish Foundation,
Miss Madeline
local
Ann
citizens.
Bienvenue.
And Madeline Ann Bienvenue is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Paul Albert Bienvenue IV, and she is a junior at Louisiana State University, and she's an education major.
She's greeted by her father, Al Bienvenue.
It amazes me how each dress, you would think a white dress is a white dress, but that's not so in New Orleans.
So
magnificent.
Beautiful.
And much
Madeline
care.
has done a lot of work at LSU as well, doing a lot of volunteer work with reading for children, as well as work with the St. Jude Hospital. And she hopes to teach in early education and do some training in cross-country and swimming.
Miss Mary Elizabeth Adrian Conwell.
And Miss Conwell is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Daniel Oza Conwell, and she attended Loyola University, but is now a junior at Tulane University.
Yes.
And there's some family lineage here.
Yes, she has two sisters. Claire Conwell was presented as a Deb in 2015, and Marsha Conwell was presented as a maid in the 2016 court. So,
and she's accompanied by her dad,
father, to have
Danny
his third
Conwell.
daughter, and presented at the Rex Ball.
Clearly a very proud dad here tonight.
Miss Megan Lane Feringa.
Miss Feringa is the daughter of Dr. and Mrs. Peter Anthony Feringa III. She's a junior at Auburn University, majoring in English, creative writing with a marketing and communications minor. And
She
indeed,
has
Rex
an
lineage.
extensive family lineage, and you heard about it earlier because her sister Ellen was presented as a maid. They are triplets. Megan is a triplet with Ellen and a brother, and her poor brother. I'm not sure what the brother's doing tonight, but his two sisters certainly are shining. She has a great-great-grandfather who was King of Carnival and a great-grandmother who was Queen of Carnival, as well as many maids that were cousins.
Miss Elizabeth Macon Hamrick.
And she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Thomas Hamrick Jr. She's a junior at the University of Mississippi, majoring in business with a focus on marketing and risk management.
She's received lots of honors academically while at University of Mississippi, and she plans to attend law school.
And once again, a reminder that they're accompanied by their dads.
Beautiful curtsies.
Miss L. Alexandra Lovick.
And she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Grayson Lovick Jr. She is currently a junior at Louisiana State University and is a pre-med nutritional sciences major.
She also academically excels, and she's a member of Kappa and does a lot of sorority work there too. She will be studying this summer in Innsbruck, Austria, which I know is going to be a wonderful experience for her. And she does plan to attend med school following graduation and pursue a career as a surgeon.
Miss L. Colton McLeod.
Miss McLeod is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Evans Martin McLeod. She is a junior at the University of Virginia and is a pre-commerce major and a Spanish minor. She has a Rex lineage there, too.
She does. Elle's mother, Colleen Colton Eustace McLeod, was a debutante in 91. Her uncle, Curtis Eustace, was a Duke in 97, and her great-great-uncle, Lawrence Eustace, reigned as King of Carnival in 1979.
And of course, he didn't get to ride in the parade because that was the police strike, but they still had the ball.
Right.
Miss Isabel Wallet Malkin.
And Miss Malkin is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Jonathan Pierce Malkin. She is a junior at Sewanee, the University of the South, majoring in natural resources with an education minor. And she, too, has the Rex connection.
Her sister, Mathilde Malkin, was a maid in 2014. Her mother, Joan Hartson Malkin, was a maid in 84. And she had many cousins and aunts that have been maids in the Rex courts. Her grandfather, Bubby Hartson, was also very active in the Rex organization.
And is so missed.
He
what
is
a
so
wonderful
missed.
man. Sissy, who is that gentleman right there that's
Miss
going to be
Caroline
Recognize
Elizabeth
Mr. William
Perlis.
Henry Langenstein.
Miss Perlis is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. David Perlis. She's a junior at Rhodes College, majoring in urban studies and minoring in Spanish.
She had very interesting. She traveled and studied for 4 months on a semester at sea. She went to Japan, China, Vietnam, South Africa, and Morocco. Wonderful, wonderful experience.
And this concludes our court.
And her father, David Perlis, I think, has probably outfitted many of the people in this ballroom.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And his dad, of course, is also
Of
David.
course.
Quite the New Orleans tradition to shop at Perlis.
A wonderful court.
Now, I am looking forward to, and they are receiving a gift from Rex.
Correct. Mr. King Milling is presenting him, and the captain is assisting in tying the ribbons on.
And as you said earlier, the pages who will be meeting in just a moment are keeping busy.
Pages have really quite the role.
Oh, there we go. Something that I'm also looking forward to in just a few moments is the Grand March, and also, there we go. There's the
pendant
the
that
lovely
they all
pendant
receive.
that they receive.
It's beautiful.
But
And from what I understand, the beautiful ribbon was constructed by Suzanne St. Paul as well.
I must say, I am looking forward to the Grand March, and of course, that wonderful moment in the ball where members of the Rex organization curtsy to the Queen and Rex.
Everyone looks forward to greeting the monarchs.
Yes.
And we look forward to seeing them.
And identifying them to the best of our ability.
And all the beautiful gowns.
Yes. And if you see any colors standing out, let me know if there's a trend here.
Well, I think I have noticed that tonight.
Oh, you have?
I think that red seems to be the color, and possibly because tomorrow is February the 14th, it
Oh,
seems
there you
apropos.
go. Yes. A little Valentine's cheer.
But it's also Ash Wednesday, so you could have black.
In New Orleans, I think we should get a dispensation. Don't
Absolutely.
you? Yeah, I think so.
So if you thought you were going to give up chocolates, don't worry about it tomorrow. Valentine's Day. Well, the proud dads are standing behind their daughters as they receive their beautiful pendants.
I have to chime in because I see Mr. Danny Conwell, and he's been a long time, very busy and active member of the WYES board. So I have to chime in on that.
Right.
When the maids and the Debs were being introduced, I noticed in the back of their gowns many times that's a place to put recent pins, recent favors, ball favors.
They do. It usually it's at the pin from like the king or the pin for the organization. The king's pin
Which
might
is a special
be
pin.
It might not have a place on their dress on the front, so they will put them on the back. All these beautiful girls. And they're so well accomplished, and it's hard to believe that tomorrow they will all be on the road or planes heading back to school.
And these are our Debs for 2018 in this year of celebrating not one, not two, but 3 centuries of New Orleans history.
We have 9 debutantes this year. Wonderful group.
It varies, doesn't it? Just in
It
terms
does
of
vary.
when everybody was born. And
It does. We're very fortunate to have so many this year.
It is the pleasure of the Rex organization to present to this year's King and Queen, the Queen of the Carnival of 1968, Delia Lane Hardy.
And we are fortunate enough to be visiting with Miss Hardy a little later in our program. And we also have a video feature that you actually see footage of the ball in 1968. And she's so lovely. And she's
So
accompanied by Mr.
beautiful.
James Rees.
I had the pleasure of visiting with her as well, and it is, you forget that she was the 250th year queen, and now she's being presented at the 300th year of the city, and very special.
She is a real animal lover. She's into Airedale rescues. She's very compassionate.
And she said she just donated her dress and her scrapbook to the Louisiana State Museum. So we will all be able to see all of her memorabilia in
And that's really a
September, she
treasure.
said.
Those are
It is very
treasures.
much a treasure.
I love the color of her dress.
I do too. She's in keeping, looks beautiful with the lieutenants in the background.
It's almost sort of a cornflower blue.
She did tell me that my mother trained her when she was Queen of Carnival,
And
which
of course,
I loved hearing.
Dolly Ann, Sushon, Parker Johnson. And
Oh, she loved
so
doing
missed.
that. She thought it was just such fun to get to know all these young, beautiful debutantes.
And she did that for a long time, too.
She did. I think it's a gift to get to know all the different generations.
Absolutely.
Here come our lieutenants.
love that side, the lieutenants side by side.
I do too. Beautiful.
Beautiful uniforms.
This grand march and the first dance that follows are reserved exclusively for members of the Rex organization.
And we should remind everyone that the Rex Ball is actually a reception, known as a reception, so you actually have less dancing and more being presented, and as we're about to see, curtsying, visiting.
And here we have the King's wife, Liz Sloss.
To the left.
Liz Eugene Sloss, and Mr. King Milling, Ann Milling. And we have the Queen Mother, Courtney Freeman, and there her father just came in, Louis Freeman, along with Christy and Kia Brown.
Who was just named Queen of Mystic on Saturday night.
Yes, she was magnificent. I was so fortunate to be able to see her. She just looked gorgeous.
And you're right about the reds and the pinks.
Here we are, pinks and reds, our Valentines. And here we have Anne and Bill Grace coming up, along with Linda Westphal. All very active in the Rex organization. And of course, here's John Charbonnet
with Dottie.
And Dottie Charbonnet, and their grandson is one of our pages tonight, Walter Galawas. Yes. Special. Oh, and here are the moms. We have Carmen, Duncan, all the Duncans here.
Right there.
And James and Erica Reese, I'm sorry, just passed us. Here's Connie and Jeff Parker, Bill Langenstein, and the Frenches, Dr. French and Flora French, former Queen of Carnival and King of Carnival.
And I believe I see King and June Logan on our left. And Peggy.
Peggy and Jack Laborde. And then we have Mike Rapia and Lydia and Blair Scanlon, along with Lou Frierson.
And Ruthie.
And Ruthie.
In red.
In red. And the Sanfords, Karen and Malin Sanford. And the Farringers. This is the mother of the triplets, Cara in her green.
And Katie and Hal Crosby off to the left. Yes. And the Freemans, Richard Freeman.
Richard Freeman, who is the great uncle of our queen. Oh, and this is another page. This is Tullis, his mother that just bowed to her. And then we have Hardy Fowler, and we have Tammy Cock, who was a former Queen of Carnival, who is...
And Scott Ham.
We have the Zimmermans, as well as the Hams. And here we have Pixie and Jimmy Reese. We have Terry and Frog White. These are all relatives of the monarchs. And wonderful time greeting them, I know. And there's Tally, the Hodges, as well as the Leghorns, and the Tabs, and more Freemans.
All together.
They all have monarchs, members of the court this year. More Freemans. Wonderful. And there's Mr. Weinman. Here's Bob Thomas.
And
Polly Thomas.
Polly, there's Polly in black. She's usually in red.
Yeah, she usually wears red now tonight.
Wow. And Mr. and Mrs.
Maybe she's thinking about Ash Wednesday.
Yeah, maybe so.
And we have a little more red with the vagaries.
And Dr. and Mrs. Stephen Hales, Dr. Nancy Hales.
And we have Sue Kearney and Mike Kearney, as well as the Lanes. And here's another one of our past Queens of Carnival, Miss Eastman. And here's Dee Eustace and the McLeods, and Eleanor and Doug Howard. And here's There's Danny Conwell again. Oh, and here's Nina Sloss. This is the daughter of our king. We have Hunter Hill and Kaylee Hill. And here we have Nina Sloss with her aunt, Sally LaPere, and Ann and John Kerner coming to greet their family members.
And J. Bat, Mr. and Mrs. J. Bat.
Oh, there they are, the Bats.
Yeah.
Here's the Wallaces. And here's Sandy and Leah Wine. And we have another former Queen of Carnival here. And here's Tina Freeman, the aunt of our queen, who also reigned as Queen of Carnival.
Oh, yes. 1971. And that view is, we call it our Rex Cam. It's actually near the throne, but very out of the way. And we have some more Freemans right here with West Freeman, Mr. and Mrs. Freeman.
Such fun for the monarchs to be able to greet their family members.
See Jimmy Farwell and Gay, his wife.
And there's Susan Gunlock.
Susan, that right on the right there, yes.
Now the theme is more blue than...
It's almost as if it was planned, all the blues.
Yes,
all the blues, the ladies in blue.
The ladies in blue. The ladies in red have moved.
Poco looks like he's having a really good time.
Poco always has a good time. I've never seen, it's very rare that you don't see Poco smiling. And here are the Whites right there. We have Michael and Virginia White and their daughter. Shelby's in the court.
And Nell Nolan and Robert Young. And she's in red. Nell can curtsy. Nell can curtsy, huh?
She's the champ.
She's the champ.
She is the champ.
Okay. All right. And Dickie Brennan. There's Dickie Brennan.
Creevy Clay is there on the left, and she's greeting her niece that's in the court this year. Creevy was former Queen of Carnival as well. It's amazing how many people stand in line to go and greet them.
I think it's such a great tradition.
It's a wonderful tradition.
And you do get to see who is at the ball up close.
New Orleans, it's just so full of rich heritage and tradition, and it's such fun when people come in from out of town and see this.
And you will notice that many of the gentlemen are wearing the Rex Ducal around their neck. With the, of course, purple, green, and gold ribbon.
They're the McLeods.
And it's very similar to the smaller ducal, which are the ladies' favorite pins that are given to the lucky few during the Mardi Gras season. There's our 50-year queen, Delia Hardy, and there's Goodyear. The Goodyears are on the right. And here we have the Freemans again, all coming in. Louis McDaniel Freeman Jr. right in the center, and his wife, and yes,
Judy
parents
Freeman,
of the queen.
their grandmother.
And
Mike Rapier's back again, as well as the Gambles. With all the Gamble girls, they've had much history with the Rex organization as well.
And the view of this shows you how...
Here's Scott and Janet.
Oh, there we go. The Howards. Notice the decoration in the background, too. Kern Studios works very hard. Blaine Kern Jr., Mardi Gras Productions, works very hard to decorate. Looks great tonight.
Michelle Renoir and her brother, Vance.
I spoke to Blaine Kern Jr. last year at the ball, and they keep very busy all year, not with just Carnival, but many, many things.
And they're very excited about the royalty. This is the Hartz and Mulkin family coming up.
You're so right about red. That's a great observation. About the color red in those gowns.
Well, I walked in with a sea of red, and some didn't realize. To the left is Bubby Hartson's wife, Joni.
Joan, oh, and what a sweet lady.
Her granddaughter.
And Mr. Bob Pettit off to the right.
Correct. And here comes Anna LaCorn, former Queen of Carnival, with her husband, Wes. Anna LaCorn Schaefer, excuse me. Here's the Logans.
June Logan again.
As well as the Raffertys on the right.
And King. I like King's beard. That's a recent addition.
Son, yes, I do too.
Yeah, some of the Rex members need to double dip as escorts to get everybody else, everybody in their entourage in.
There's Ben Dupuis off to the left. And Jay Bad again.
It is the Dupuis and Doe Klein, and we have Brian Batt and Jay Batt, his wife.
Okay.
And here's more of the family for the King of Carnival, the Yuji family, who have had a long history. The Rex organization, many queens in that family. And the Bienvenus.
Yeah, there's Al Bienvenu.
Betty.
Yeah.
And Al.
Who was the rode the throne in one of the parades this past week.
And Sally Foreman and Kathy Carey and Darcy Scoggin.
Oh, yeah, Ron Foreman, sure.
More UGs.
And that family, for so many years, has been so strong in their philanthropic giving. Oh, my goodness,
absolutely.
philanthropy.
The Jones Yuji family has just been wonderful to our city. Miss Mary Scott, Shelby Westfeld, and Mary Scott is Shelby Westfeld's sister. She reigned as Queen of Comus, and her sister reigned as Queen of Carnival. So they had the fun of being on both sides.
I thought I saw Margarita Bergen in the background.
Yes, we did.
All right.
And I think there's Miss Bruce and Shelby Westfeld Mills, and is that Nancy Hales on the right? It is.
And I think this gentleman is going to have to move over. I love our Rex cam.
And the
What a great
Beckers.
view.
And I think they're saying that's the end of your greetings from the moment.
Known as the Grand March. And there's Carl Mack taking some pictures as well.
Well, Cece, you're officially initiated.
Cece, you did a great job.
into the.
Well, it certainly is fun to see from this perspective. You get to see people up close and in person.
I think that we have completed the curtsy tonight, don't
I
you?
think so. It's now time to enjoy and dance a little bit.
Okay.
Still to come, of course, is going to the Comus Ball when we'll see the famous march and the meeting in the courts on the Comus side, and we'll see the closing of the curtain on Carnival. So there's a lot of symbolic stuff and very colorful stuff.
And we
still
should
to
point
happen.
out that you're hearing the Jimmy Maxwell Orchestra, and the orchestra is performing actually tonight on both the Rex and Comus side. And Mark is tonight under the direction of Mark Monaster on the Rex side, and Robert Maxwell, Jimmy's son, over on the Comus side. And Jimmy Maxwell is so known for, of course, society orchestras. He played with Lester Lannon, the late great Renee Luop from New Orleans, also worked with Peter Duchin, one of America's society band leaders. But the music is really perfect for this evening. And so there'll be some dancing, but really, I think most of the time people just like visiting as well. And pretty soon we'll be meeting the Pages, of course, who have had a busy night. You'll have to meet the Pages, who have been so important to what we've been doing. Okay. And you know, WYES-TV is planning a fundraising event with a disco beat. Watch this.
Police chief's here and the mayor's here.
Okay, should Errol get up to go do the interviews?
But the interview's supposed
His Majesty Rex 2018 invites everyone to participate in the dancing.
But they're supposed to be over. But where's?
We're doing Pages.
And of course, you know, we should remind you that the Pages, there is a Rex page and the Queen's page, who you'll meet shortly. And they too already have quite the lineage. And this is, I believe, Rex's page, Mr. Walter Douglas Galawas. And he actually was told by his parents, Mr. and Mrs. William Joseph Galawas Jr., that there was an invite on the Christmas tree in their home, and they said, check that out. Let's see what that is. And of course, it was an invitation to be Rex. He's a student at St. George's, and his school activities include running cross country and playing golf. And of course, he has the Rex lineage, doesn't he?
He does. His mother is the former Anne Story Charbonnet, and she reigned as Queen of Carnival in 1990, and his grandfather, John Charbonnet, who you've seen often tonight, reigned as Rex in 88. His uncles, John Charbonnet and Joseph Story Charbonnet, were dukes in the Rex courts, and his cousin tonight, Anna Hugie, who was Queen of Carnival last year, is his cousin. But I have to say, Walter is just a very interesting young man. He one of his favorite hobbies is fly fishing.
Oh, wow.
He's been fly fishing since he's like age 5, and apparently he makes his own flies for the fly fishing.
And let's meet the Queen's page, Tullis Ritter Gamble. And he is the son of the Mr. and Mrs. William Christian Gamble Jr., and he was told that he would be a page on Christmas morning. An envelope was one of the presents that he received, and it was the last present and it said, Rex asked for you to be one of his page, and there you go.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Tullis's father was a Duke in the Rex Court in 1990, and his great-grandfather, Garner H. Tullis, reigned as Rex in 1935, and his great-grandfather, Eli W. Tullis, was a page in the Rex Court in 41 and reigned as King of Carnival in 97. Plus, he has a great aunt, Malcolm M. Tullis, was Queen of Carnival in 1938, and his aunt, Ashbrook Tullis, was Queen of Carnival in 1988. So he, too, has many monarchs in his family, and he's doing a splendid job as a page tonight.
And Cece, I just want to thank you so much for helping us.
Oh, well, thank
we
you.
carved some time out from your enjoyment of the ball, but you helped enhance us very much. So
it's
thank
been
you,
great
Cece
fun for me.
Langenstein,
Thank you for
doing
having
that.
me.
Really appreciate it. Take care. Happy Mardi Gras. Yes.
Thank you. Happy Mardi Gras to you.
And now let's take a moment to thank those who helped make tonight's broadcast possible.
Funding for the 2018 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Streetcars rolling down the tracks and Iberia Bank both are part of today's New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com. The Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is also sponsored by the Riley Foods Company and French Market Cold Brew Coffee, New Orleans' own soul-fueled coffee concentrate.
From that first interview with the customer, you become a friend.
We're the local guys. We're there to work with them, and we know them, and they know us. We're not answering to some far-off corporate office someplace.
Our bank has always been a part of the community.
Christwood, a retirement destination located in St. Tammany Parish, features cottages and apartment homes along with the assurance of quality health care. Personal tours are available. The New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation wishes visitors and citizens a happy Mardi Gras during New Orleans' tricentennial year. New Orleans visitor information is available at neworleans.com. Additional funding is provided by the law firm of Adams & Reese, Jonathan C. McCall, and by Richard CPAs.
And with me is the wife of the Queen, Liz Slaws, Mrs. Poco Slaws, radiant in red. That's a gorgeous dress.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautifully done. And so tell us, how did Poco tell you that you were going to be?
Well, I have to tell you, he was fairly casual. He was fairly casual. Told me one day we were in the car and he'd known for a few days, and I said,
around what time
when
is
were you
that?
going to tell me?
Around what time of the year was that?
October.
In October.
So,
wow.
Yes.
So lots of plans, lots of organizing.
Lots of lists. Lots of lists. So we have done this before, kind of, and so I knew what was in store.
Well, having had a background being rather ball chair, you know,
right.
So he had a unique perspective on it, didn't he?
Right.
Yes. Now, you are a jewelry designer and long-time jewelry
Peggy Scott,
designer.
that's awfully nice for you to mention
so
that.
I say, where's that? You're playing it pretty low-key here tonight.
I'm about to retire.
Are you really?
I've been doing it for a while.
Have you?
Yeah.
And I should also, let me brag on Liz, because she's very much a community activist, too. You're involved with a lot of things, including City Park.
City Park.
That's
on the City
your
Park
heart.
board. Yes. Yes, I was on the board with Errol.
Yes, as a matter of
He's
fact.
rotated off. I'm about to rotate off, but I loved it.
What are some of the other activities? I know you're very involved civically.
I'm on the Arts Council board, and I'm on the Covenant House board.
Did you spend the night out?
I have.
That was one of the most amazing fundraisers where you actually you sleep on the streets.
You sleep on the street, and I have to tell you, you really earn your money.
Yeah,
people are
you raise money, but
I will give you
to
money
do
because you're sleeping on the street and I'm in my bed. So whatever you want, I'll give it to you.
Tell us about today and what were some of your activities?
Today was fabulous.
Where did you see the parade?
Oh, I go to the Intercontinental.
Of course, okay.
With the court. And my daughter came, and we had some cousins in town from Birmingham.
And former queen, your daughter?
My daughter,
queen.
Nana, the former queen. So she came in from New York, where she's been working, and we've had a wonderful time. Fabulous time.
Seeing him on the float, quite a thrill, huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I had gotten texts from him, or texts from other people with photographs of him had gotten off the float at the Grace's house. I said, were you going to do that? He said, no, we were stalled, so I got off and went and talked to pictures of my sisters with him, and, you know, so people were sending me pictures on my phone. It was kind of fun.
So we have learned, of course, that the Poco really loves to fly. So I'm assuming you have flown with him. What is that like?
I do fly with him. I do fly with him. Furthest we've flown is the Grand Canyon.
That's pretty far.
4 days with another couple that is also a pilot. So yes, it's still a little nerve-wracking for me, but he's very detail-oriented.
Yes.
And it's all about the safety, and it's all about the weather.
Absolutely. And we appreciate all of his activities, of course, to make New Orleans better, and we appreciate yours. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Happy Mardi Gras. Take care. Congrats. And in addition to pursuing her college studies, this year's Queen of Carnival, Miss Sarah Jane Holbrook Freeman, has a variety of interests, as we'll discover in her interview. Sarah Jane Holbrook Freeman thought she was just going to lunch with her family when she got the surprise of a lifetime.
I was at school and my parents told me that we have lunch with some relatives, and so I was like, all right, I'm going to go meet up with these relatives, and I get there and it's just my mom and my dad, and they had a bottle of champagne and a book, and they were like, so open the book, and I looked at the book and I'm turning a few pages and I'm like, what is going on? And it was actually pictures of my family and Rex, and I go, am I Rex? And my parents were like, yes, you are, and these are your relatives that you're meeting.
Her selection as queen comes at a particularly historic time for the city of New Orleans.
I'm just so honored, and I'm so thankful that I get to experience everything during the 300th anniversary.
The 2018 Queen of Carnival joins other family members who have been Rex royalty. Her great-great-grandfather A.B. Freeman and her great-grandfather Richard West Freeman, along with her grandfather Louis Freeman Sr., all served as Rex. Her great-aunt Tina Freeman reigned as queen, as did her aunt Laura Freeman, reigning as queen in 1984. Growing up in New Orleans, Her Majesty has fond memories of seeing her dad ride in parades, including Rex, on the Boeuf Gras float.
Looking up and seeing my dad and him smiling and throwing us some beads, where he would be on the cow float, which I thought it was called, because I would always get the stuffed animal cow from him. It's really fun.
This year's queen is currently in her junior year at the University of Virginia, majoring in media studies and minoring in art history.
I'm interning at a small firm that's an interior design firm in New York, which is cool because I've never really done that before. They're relying on me to put together fabrics. I'm excited.
When she's not busy with school, Miss Freeman enjoys running cross-country and travel. Her love of travel and her interest in clothing design is reflected in her dress for this year's ball.
I helped design the dress that I'll be wearing. It's really special because it was inspired by both my love for traveling and the 20s. I think the 20s is the perfect time era for me because it combines both kind of girly with more edgy.
And did she ever imagine that she would be queen?
When I was little, I would look up to the queen. I would always look for her in parades. I thought she was so pretty with all the shiny jewels and everything. I thought that was so unique, but I never thought that it would actually be me. So it's a great surprise.
And as we see, everybody's having a really good time. There's lots of dancing. We're listening to the Jimmy Maxwell Orchestra. By the way, Jimmy Maxwell's orchestra is very busy. They do over 25 Mardi Gras parades throughout the season, and he changes it up with jazz as well as traditional music. But now, here is Errol with a gentleman who's had one busy day, Mayor Mitch Landrieu.
Well, Mayor, your day began riding with Zulu and horses as you usually do?
I do. I start off Mardi Gras at 8 o'clock in the morning on Jackson and Claiborne Avenue at the front of Zulu Parade.
Now, the crowds were good today, weren't they?
They were huge. They really were. All along Jackson Avenue, they were really way, way deep. Turned on to St. Charles. They're really most of the thickest crowds I've seen in a long time.
Now, I just learned something interesting about you a few minutes ago. You come from a family of 8 kids. Your dad, Moon, and wife, and mother, Vernon. So he was mayor for 8 years, and you were saying y'all used to go to Gallia Hall, but where were you during the parades?
All the time. I was always under the stands.
Okay.
That was the best place because the stands had a lot of cracks in them. That was the best place to catch the balloons.
And so little Mitch was under the stairs.
I remember the year that Bacchus first threw the red doubloon because I caught a bucket load of them, and it was just a lot of fun. I was a baby boy.
Oh. Well, you've been mayor for 8 years now. This is the last few months of your term. As you look back at Mardi Gras, how do you feel about the institution?
I feel great. You know, it's a great tourist attraction. It's also very rich in its culture and diversity. The skills that the floats have now are just completely different than they used to be. The crews are bigger. Rex was gorgeous today. I thought it really laid out the entire history of the city of New Orleans, and I think Mardi Gras is in really good shape.
I think there's something mental that Mardi Gras does to the city. People don't understand, like those nights when you have a huge crowd standing on the neutral ground and people standing side by side and cheering and partying. I mean, few cities in the world can duplicate that.
I like to think that New Orleans is a great example for the rest of the country and the rest of the world. You know, we have people of different races, creeds, colors. They come from all over the world. They enjoy themselves with their families, and it's really just a peaceful, wonderful, you know, it's a great event, and I think it reflects well on the people of the city of New Orleans.
And you know, it's always something, like it becomes so big and so pervasive, and then a week after it's like, oh, when was Mardi Gras? Okay.
Well, tomorrow morning, of course, you know, for everybody, you know, Lent starts.
Yeah.
The Catholics are going to be getting their ashes. Everybody else is going to be just kind of settling down. And then in a week or so, you're going to forget that it actually happened and start looking forward to it next year.
And then you get into the Jazz Fest,
well, yeah.
and it never ends.
This is a big year. You know, we have New Year's Eve now, which is a national celebration. Yeah. And we go into Mardi Gras, French Quarter Fest, Jazz Fest, the Zurich Classic, and then, of course, the Essence Festival. And New Orleans is really the cultural economy capital of the world.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor.
You're welcome. Great to see you.
Let's go back to Peggy. Thank you.
Thank you, Errol and the Mayor. And now, though, it's time to take a closer look at our Queen's gown, Miss Sarah Jane Freeman's. Look at the gown here. You know, the Queen of Carnival is wearing a modern trumpet silhouette juxtaposed with delicate 1920s detailing created by Suzanne St. Paul. 4 unique lace patterns and stylized gold threadwork appliques are encrusted with Swarovski crystals, bugle beads, and seed beads. A leaf pattern defines the waist and the center front. Artfully placed vines of lace diagonally, of course, wrap her skirt, and the Swarovski golden shadow crystals and bugle beads following hand-drawn artwork fill her gown with alternating areas of radiating lines and lattice work. The gown is absolutely magnificent. And there's open threadwork appliques extending above the bodice neckline and blending in with the collar. Ornate scalloped lace encircles the hem with additional dimensional flowers extending beyond the sweeping train. And at the neckline is the Rex organization's impressive Medici collar of heavily beaded gold lace overlaid with crystals, gold bugles, and once again, the Swarovski margarita flowers. The organization's gold mantle with white ermine trim and royal jewelry includes the crown and the scepter, and it completes her splendid ensemble. And as you know, she actually was very busy in organizing and helping to actually design the gown. She's very into decoration and design, and she did it. But now it is time, though, to toss to Errol to meet the Queen's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Lewis McDaniel, Monty Freeman, Jr.
Now, I asked your daughter about how she found out, and she said like a
book.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes.
Huh. Hi. One of the things I'm always interested in asking Queens about how they found out. You know? And so how did you all do it?
She was up at the University of Virginia, and so we had to come up with a way to get her alone so we could tell her. And we invited her to brunch with family members. And when she got to the brunch, there was 3 glasses of champagne and a book on the table. And when we explained to her why the book was there, she started to flip through the book, and it was all of the history of my family that had participated in Rex.
Which is quite a history, must have been a big book.
It is pretty big.
Back to the 1930s.
And so the conclusion was that she was going to be queen. She was going to be
right. As she flipped through the pages, she didn't have to go very far before she realized every picture in the book was a Rex royalty.
Now, what's happened once a daughter finds out she's queen? Is there a lot of time that needs to be spent, like with the gown and the preparation and the inviting friends, and how active does the mother have to be?
Oh, well, I have to make a lot of lists and make a lot of appointments for dressmaking and getting everything ready. And it was an easy process because she loves to design, and she had a great time doing it.
I've always heard about fathers in New Orleans when they have a young daughter and they look at it and they say, one day she's going to be a queen. Did you ever think that? Was she someone that you envisioned one day being queen?
It was always a hope of mine. It was something that, whenever you have a daughter in New Orleans, that we're so involved in the tradition of Mardi Gras that we always hope. But it's such a great honor and such a great that we never expected that it would actually happen.
And the thing I've always noticed also about queens is that they have this very special period in their life, and then the next day it's back to reality.
Yeah, she's back to work at school, a lot of studying to do, and it'll be...
So, what are the plans today? Like, you started off early in the morning, and then you had the parade. Any special events in the afternoon?
Well, she had the brunch, she had the viewing stand, and she got to see her father and her brothers grow, and lots of fun.
Now, I asked her what her favorite memory was, and she said giving the awards to the bands, that was really thrilling for her.
Yeah, she had no idea that was going to happen, so she loved those big trophies being handed down in the celebration of the bands when they received the trophies.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Let's go back to Peggy. Thank you.
Thank you, Errol. Looking back, a century and a half a century ago gives us a glimpse into Carnival's rich past, as Diane Mack reminds us.
When we look back at Carnival 100 years ago, there's little to see. As fierce fighting continued in the Great War, local Carnival crews canceled their 1918 Mardi Gras activities. 50 years later, Mardi Gras was a different, happier story as revelers jammed the streets for a very special Rex parade celebrating the 250th anniversary of the founding of New Orleans. The theme was New Orleans, We Love You, and the floats reflected the city's past.
Many of the floats in the parade paid homage to traditions and historical characters and locations. The Baroness de Pontalba was afloat, the Ursuline nuns, even the Cabildo was afloat.
Rex in 1968 was investment firm owner Ernest C. Villery, a civic leader with an impressive historical lineage that predated the founding of Louisiana.
One of Ernest Villery's most noteworthy ancestors was Jacques Philippe Villery, who was the second Louisiana governor after statehood. Ernest Villery has many connections in the Rex organization, and here at the Louisiana State Museum, we're very proud to have the gown that his granddaughter, Sidonie Villery, wore when she was queen in 1998.
The Queen of Carnival in 1968 was Delia Hardy. Her great-grandfather was Matthew J. Sanders, who was Rex in 1902. But that was just the beginning of the family's ties to Rex.
In 1939, my aunt, Charlotte Hardy Smither Menville, was queen. In 1955, my uncle Darwin Fenner was king. In 1959, his daughter Flora Fenner was queen. The next one was Uncle Eb, Dad's older brother. In 1962, he was Rex. Another cousin, Louise Smither, now McDonald, was queen in 1965. So there's a lot there.
Despite her considerable Rex lineage, Delia believes the honor of her reign really belongs to her late father, Bill Hardy.
He did organize a lot of the parade, and of course he helped Homer Dupuy with the ball at night. When he died in 2001, he was still a member at the age of 89.
Delia generously shared treasured keepsakes and memories about her experience in 1968.
Delia decided to donate her memorabilia from her reign just this past year. She still had the gown that she wore to the Rex Ball, as well as this extraordinary scrapbook.
In honor of the historical anniversary, the Rex organization came up with several innovations, including a pop-up invitation. Another special addition for the 250th commemoration was a new float, the streetcar named Desire. It has become a signature of the Rex Parade since its debut in 1968.
One of the more fun things that Rex did that took place at the ball was they chose a Rex member to disguise and costume as Bienville. Welcomed him out on the ballroom floor and presented him with a ducal decoration as if he were just another visiting dignitary.
In 1968, the Mystic Crew of Comus also decided to honor the city's 250th anniversary with a parade called Highlights in the History of New Orleans. They chose Martha Farwell as their queen for the special occasion. As she reflects back on Mardi Gras 1968, Delia Hardy recalls a magical day with an exceptional king.
He was kind, he was considerate, he was fun to be with. It just couldn't be a nicer person. I was very lucky.
And here we are with Delia Lane Hardy, live and in person here on our stage. And welcome. Tell me about your dress and the color, because I know it has significance.
This dress? Well, my dad was always a purple lieutenant. I think you saw in the clip before a picture of my dad in his most in his later years he was green, but most of the time he was in purple.
And so that was the tribute. Now you're wearing a gorgeous ring. So I don't know if we can get a close-up of that, but there's this. So tell me about this.
This, my great-grandfather, Matthew James Sanders, who was king in 1902, gave this ring to my great-grandmother. And so he must have liked purple too.
We'll move it that way. Okay. It's magnificent. So that color is very important to your family.
And I like it too, so that worked out well.
Now, in addition to all the activities, for a long time you've been very much an animal lover.
I am.
Airedale?
I'm on the National Airedale Terrier Rescue Board, and I do the rescue. And I also am a member of the Visiting Pet Program, where we take our animals to visit at nursing homes and hospitals.
Oh, that means so much. I've had that experience with some relatives, and they just light up.
It's win-win. It's, the dogs like the attention, the patients or residents love it, and it makes me feel good. So, I mean, it's winning all the way around.
How did you find out that you would be queen? How did your dad tell you?
I was graduating from Mount Vernon, which was a junior college up in Washington, D.C. And we were in the room waiting to go out to dinner, and Dad made himself a drink and turned around and he said, I don't remember whether he said the next Queen of Carnival or the 1968 Queen of Carnival, but that's how he
did it. You were there. Well, thank you so much for being with us, and you're a wonderful queen now and then. Most appreciated. And now, though, let's visit with Errol again with Chip Goodyear, who was well aware of the civic side of the Rex organization.
The civic side, indeed. The Rex organization has been very active with raising money to... Okay. The Rex organization has been very active with raising money for education. One of the really great efforts that's going on. 11 years you've been doing it now? Rex has been doing it? So how much has been raised so far?
We've given away about $6.5 million over the last 11 years, and in the last 3 years we've given away $1 million each year.
And who do you give it to?
We give it to about 60 organizations around the city, everything from schools to organizations that support K-12 education to groups that try to improve that and innovate in that space.
So your primary emphasis is in developing charter schools?
Well, it's really K-12 education overall, and here in New Orleans it's mostly charter schools. But K-12 education is an issue all over the country, and New Orleans has a real head start in this area.
That's one of the incredible things, because for the longest, New Orleans had a reputation of having a terrible educational system. Now some people are saying, we're the model, we're not there yet, but we're something that people are looking at.
Well, it's certainly true we're not there yet, but we have been a place that has innovated in the area of K through 12 education. It's been a real laboratory where people from around the country have come in and said, how can we adjust K through 12 education? Gotten great support from students, from parents, from the city, and from people in the city, and Pro Bono is one of those groups.
Are there any schools in particular, maybe a school that stands out in your mind as really a great example of what's happened in the last few years?
I'll tell you, there are a lot of great schools. We have many organizations around the city. They're all trying different things. Some run as many as 11 schools, and some just run one school. But it's that different set of things that allows us to see how innovation changes and can improve K through 12 education.
So how does Rex raise the money?
We talk to our members, we describe what we're trying to do and how important public education is for our city and our country. If we can't get public education right, it not only impacts our city, it really impacts the effectiveness of democracy.
Ladies and gentlemen,
well, you all do a
please
great
take your
job with
seats.
Mardi Gras. Do the same thing with education. We're in good shape.
Very good. Thank you, Errol.
Thank you very much. Let's go back to Peggy.
And tonight we welcome Arthur Hardy, publisher of Arthur Hardy's Mardi Gras Guide, for a bit of a visit here. I know we're awaiting a special guest, but you're a special guest here. How was your day? You rode in the parade today.
This was my third ride in Rex, Peggy.
Which float were you on?
I was on the Jester float, lead man on the passenger side, and we had a wonderful time. My best ride so far. The crowds were big, friendly. The weather was good. It was a wonderful day. I had a grand time.
Can you recognize people you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but by the time you get your beads ready, you're gone, and they're over there. But you try to make eye contact, but the crowds were just so friendly, and people who've been riding for years told me this was one of the warmest crowds I've seen. Maybe it was the bad weather the last week that it was all pent up, but they were out and they were sharing things, and I got offered 3 chicken wings. Of course, they wanted a few doubloons in return, but it was a great day.
What do you think? What is your general assessment of Carnival this season?
I think it was a little soft economically. I've heard from a lot of vendors who said business was down, but that's typical when Mardi Gras is early.
Well, there's no spring break.
And no spring break, and of course next year we have the opposite. It's going to be late, March 5th. But it was a good Mardi Gras. Certainly the weather affected it. I mean, there was hardly a parade that didn't get some rain on it. But what are you going to do? Who do you blame?
Right.
You know, it's Mardi Gras, and we go on, right?
Arthur, what is the earliest and what is the latest Carnival can be?
February 3rd, Fat Tuesday can fall, or as late as March 9th. There's quite a spread. The Carnival season can be 28 days long or 63 days long.
I feel sorry sometimes for the king cake purveyors.
Oh, you know, because if they can only make 500 cakes a day, they want a 100-day season.
Exactly. And you know, just a reminder that our coverage of the Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus will repeat in its entirety immediately following this broadcast. And now, though, Arthur's going to stick around, but first let's go visit Errol with perhaps the busiest person during Mardi Gras, and with the most responsibility, Chief Michael Harrison and his wife, Cece.
Well, Chief, congratulations, first of all, to getting us safely to this point. I know it's a big burden the police chief has every year.
It is a big burden, but look, it's a labor of love. The officers and I, we all love doing it. We do it for the citizens, we do it for the visitors, and we do it for our city. And so while it's a lot of long hours and a lot of hard work, we really actually enjoy Mardi Gras. It's one of the good times we can take a break from some of the regular things that we're doing. And so my wife and I have been doing this all of our lives, and so this is just a part of New Orleans. When we sign up to be a member of this department, Mardi Gras is a big part of that.
So, Cece, you were raised in Gentilly, and I was asking you, you've just been you're the most important person in Mardi Gras. You're the spectator. I mean, that's what you've been doing most of your life, right?
Yes, I've been going to the parades, enjoying just watching him lead the band. He's been doing it for so many years, and I enjoy it.
And then when you started dating this guy, he was in the band at McDonald 35. Did you go out and see him?
He's at every single parade.
Okay. So, how do you spend your Mardi Gras? Like, what did you do today?
Today, I kind of stayed in just a little. My daughter wanted to go out, so we did a little of Mardi Gras and prepared for the bowls on tonight.
Now, Chief, tonight is always one of the important rituals where the police have to kind of close down the French Quarter. Are you going to be riding a horse tonight, or?
I'm not going to be riding a horse. I'll be walking out front. We'll have a number of the heads of the law enforcement agencies from the area who work with us, and then we'll have our mounted unit riding behind us, and I will walk out front with the other law enforcement, and we will close Bourbon Street down. You'll see thousands of people thanking us, but that's a ritual that's been going on for a long time.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thanks for all you've done. Let's go back to Peggy. Thank you all.
And we are awaiting the arrival, we should say, of the captain of Comus with a special invitation, right, Arthur?
That's right. And I bet the answer is yes.
It's all about the meeting of the courts, which we've been telling you about. 1882?
I actually think it was 1884. There's some debate about that, but it's been a long time. And what a tradition. What a way to ring down the curtain, huh?
Absolutely. And what I really enjoy is you see the captain of Comus, who was always in silver. It looks maybe it looks like white, but it's really in silver.
It's silver, yeah.
And his lieutenants are multicolored, as opposed to purple, green, and gold, of course, of Rex. But it's a special moment, the royal invitation.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And we owe a lot of credit to Comus for all the contributions to Carnival, including starting the whole first parade.
The word crew.
All of those things.
Creation of this. And Errol is going to be rejoining us shortly here, too. But through the magic of TV, we are fortunate enough also to have the invitation that we'll be able to read to our viewers what Rex himself is reading. So that'll be fun. This was certainly one of the jolliest Rexes, don't you think, Air? One of the jollier Rexes.
He's having a good time. From what I hear, he has a happy look on his face most of the time, which helps. And I was telling the story about the captain. Said someone came up to him today and said, "You know, that's really a happy Rex you have there." And so even the crowd was noticing it.
Absolutely. Arthur, your favorite time of Mardi Gras Day, a particular moment?
Well, now getting on the float, and just seeing it finally leave the den is just, again, the feeling of the crowds. I mean, just the interaction. I must have counted a dozen times, said Peggy, when I threw something, and I'm not so good at this, and I missed the person I wanted to, and the guy, him? And handed it over. You see so much sharing. They're killing to get the stuff, and then, it wasn't for me, you take it. It's just, if we could share like that all year round, it'd be wonderful.
Rex now has a throw for each float. It's gotten pretty fancy, hasn't it?
Yeah, and people are holding up signs. Float-specific bead, please. Oh,
really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Not just doubloons. And I think doubloons are making a comeback. We had more doubloon signs this year.
Oh.
Amazing. People want doubloons, and that's a good thing.
And I think that those stuffed animals and the buffaloes, and also the plush.
Yeah.
You call it, of course, the plush, representing they're picking some of the floats, like the bandwagon and the streetcar named Desire. Those are really
even the Justice float. We had koozies this year. So
were they popular?
Yes.
What was among the most popular things that you threw?
Float-specific beads. That and doubloons were the requests we had the most,
And, of course, we have H. Alvin Sharp and then Rex Captain Darwin Fenner to thank for this. Mr. Sharp was a very well-thought-of artist who came up with the idea of the doubloon and pitched the idea.
He literally pitched it. Yeah.
That's right. He did. Tell us that.
To prove that these were safe, he actually threw a handful to the captain, and they gave it a try. But, Rex wasn't sure it was going to work, and that's why they didn't put a date on the 1960 doubloon.
Do you have one of those?
I have several of those.
Ooh, all right, Arthur.
And, they tell the story about that day that calls were coming in, I think, to Gallier Hall or to the police department saying, hey, things are going crazy. They're throwing money for the Rex Parade early in the round. They thought people were actually throwing real coinage.
Oh, that's funny.
I think when you have a prestigious group like Rex and you have specialty doubloons, like float doubloons, people are interested. They're not interested in any old thing like they used to be. I don't think they're going to scramble on the street like they used to do. But when they know it's something special, then I think it makes a difference.
Arthur, remember the days of rice beads and, of course, glass beads, which are making a comeback?
Yes, we had some today we were throwing, and they'll never be what they were, but it's kind of a nostalgic throwback, if you will. And people are clamoring for things that are different. You're right, Errol.
Yeah, but as you said, there's still the doubloons. I would have thought that would peter out. My goodness, how many plastic cups can we all have in New Orleans homes, huh?
I was tossing those, and people were looking at me like, come on, you can do better than that. Yeah, cups are not.
Oversaturation,
yeah,
you
I
bet?
think so.
I bet.
And again, how many can you have?
Arthur, let me get your thought on something. We're talking today about all the beads on trees. Now, I don't remember that as a kid. I don't remember it all my life. You see more of that now.
Yep.
Okay.
but there were always parades and people throwing beads. And I think it's because of the Super Cruise and the double-decker floats. That people are throwing beads from a higher angle now. So you see, I think it's a wonderful sight, too.
No, I think you're right. And how's about the toilet paper in the trees? You know, both Tux and Toth this year threw toilet paper. But, you know, in their argument about, yeah, it looks ugly, but it dissolves. Beads don't.
Once
The
again,
captain
Mark
of the
Romick,
Mystic
the voice
Crew of
of
Comus,
Rex tonight,
has arrived to present an invitation to His Majesty Rex to visit the Comus Ball.
the captain of Comus indeed has arrived, and as we promised, the lieutenants in multicolored uniforms. And this is who started it all, Comus, the Comus organization, in terms of parades as we would know it, right, Air?
Sure, yeah. Well, Comus was first, and it's still deference to Comus.
The Rex pages welcoming him and his entourage. So, a scroll, which we will be able to share with you. I'm so glad. And as he reads it, we'll read it to you. Hail Rex! Reigning as Rex for our city's 300th celebration requires a person of much dedication. When such a civic leader has been found, it is only fitting that he wear the crown. A man of much talent and experience, you mix technology with common sense. These efforts have made our city a better place as it moves forward at a more rapid pace. Well, as many foundations, boards, and commissions, helping them guide them through has been your primary mission. Serving the BGR, the GNOF, the NOPBRR, to name a few. We wonder how you had time to also work, too. And as you have been a fun-loving king for a day, your subjects have all been allowed to play. Although your reign may be near an end, please know that you remain a valued friend. Now that you have almost done it all, it is time to answer our call. So bring your queen, court, and all, and join us at our grand Comus Ball.
I think we're about to see something special here. Pay attention.
Mr. Brooke Duncan and Mr. Michael Kearney and John Charbonnet, all former Rexes.
Brooke Duncan would be the senior.
Dramatic and historic moment.
And we can now officially tell you that the former captain was Mr. Christian Brown, serving 8 years, Errol?
8 years. That's pretty much what they've been serving. So this is the third time since we've done this broadcast that we've seen the changing of a whistle.
The identity of the captain remains a secret, but here you see our new changing of the guard.
And all of these gentlemen are former captains.
And the new captain will be the 18th, according to the organization.
He's got the whistle. Congratulations to our new captain.
So like that quickly, the power transfers into the Carnival organization. The captain is the power, so he's being recognized by by Rex and his queen. It's a very big moment in Mardi Gras. You know, what you just seen, something special.
And a big surprise to many people.
Really?
There's always like a rumored next captain. And the rumored next captain was somebody else, but it happens. And so, but generally captains have served 8 to 10 years, most normally 8. One former captain told me he thought captains should serve concurrently with mayors. And Mitch Landrieu is finishing his 2 terms, and he has served 8 years. I don't think that's a fast rule, but it's a tradition. I mean, if you look back among recent captains, it's pretty much been like that.
And most captains have also served as Rex.
Yes.
But they've served as Rex while they were captain. And in the case of Christy Brown, he was Rex a couple of years ago.
Our Queen of Carnival, Sarah Jane Holbrook Freeman. And she and her king are ready to cross Canal Street to the Marriott, and to the Grand Ballroom of the Marriott, to the Comus Ball. They've just been invited, and following them will be their court. Coco Sloss, 2018 King of Carnival.
Let me say that the Rex captain is more than just the captain of Rex. He really becomes a leader in Mardi Gras in New Orleans. And there are some former captains that really fought some major battles while they were captain. I see Brooke Duncan, who was captain at the time of the police strike in 1979. And he's the guy who made that famous statement about will not be held hostage by the Teamsters Union when the Carnival crew stood behind Mayor Morial. John Charbonnet was captain during a very controversial time. So some people have had to really get involved in civic issues too.
And Errol, you know now, Rex and the captains are doing so much more in the community outreach. The Pro Bono Publico Foundation has given away millions of dollars to charter schools. So the captain is also not just organizing and helping the Rex organization progress, but doing things in the community for the whole city.
That's a good point.
It's a big, big job.
Absolutely.
We've really been blessed with outstanding leadership through the years.
Hail Rex, hail the Queen of Carnival. And we should say that once our monarchs and their court leave, there still is plenty of Rex Ball left. And we'll still be busy over here and enjoying it. And you're hearing the music of Jimmy Max. And conducting tonight is Mark Monastery.
These young ladies.
Oh, yes.
This is forever.
Conducting the orchestra tonight is Mr. Mark Monastery on the Rex side, and Robert Maxwell, Jimmy's son, on the Comus side.
In the early years of the Rex organization, there was not anybody identified as a captain for a while. There'd be somebody who might be like the chairman or something. It took a while before they fell into that model, which a lot of carnival organizations do.
And we are coming to you from the Grand Ballroom of the Sheraton Hotel on historic Canal Street. And once again, note the beautiful set, Mardi Gras Productions, Blaine Kern Jr. and his talented staff. They've really put together a magnificent venue.
I just look back, what a poignant moment that was, that shot of Christy Brown when he blew the whistle. And I think some people knew it was coming, but it really meant something to see it and what happened after. There is now general dancing, in which I always like to say, you'll see a general dancing.
That's right. As we said, almost 120 members of the military are Rex guests tonight, and the military being so important to Rex throughout its history.
Rex has always saluted the military. In fact, back in the old days, when we had the Monday arrival of Rex, there would be a military parade to City Hall. Gary Hall would get the keys to the city, and sometimes Rex would be in a carriage, came in a steamboat, and then later on a train, as they did this year, of course.
And now, though, let's thank those who have made tonight's broadcast possible.
Funding for the 2018 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Streetcars rolling down the tracks and Iberia Bank both are part of today's New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. The Gustav Westphal McElhenney Family Foundation supports the renewal of New Orleans and the ongoing process of transforming our city's schools. Rex organization volunteers and the Pro Bono Publico Foundation are helping assure that every child in New Orleans can attend an excellent school. Brennan's Restaurant offers Chef Slade Rushing's modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, roost bar, and courtyard. Brennan's, over 70 years in the French Quarter. 417 Royal Street. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. The Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is also sponsored by the Riley Foods Company and French Market Cold Brew Coffee, New Orleans' own soul-fueled coffee concentrate. Christwood, a retirement destination located in St. Tammany Parish, features cottages and apartment homes along with the assurance of quality health care. Personal tours are available. The New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation wishes visitors and citizens a happy Mardi Gras during New Orleans' tricentennial year. New Orleans visitor information is available at neworleans.com. Support comes from Emmett Dupas, Wealth Management Advisor at Northwestern Mutual, specializing in finding solutions to help companies and their employees reach their financial goals.
Adler's, honored to be part of New Orleans traditions since 1898.
Support comes from Baker Donaldson, lawyers and advisors proud to serve the business community and support local programming. Additional support by Bellwether Technology.
And now, here is our second Carnival quiz question. What are the maskers on the Boeuf Gras float costumed as? Carnival quiz prizes include a one-night stay for two at the Inn at Hummus House, which includes 2 guided tours of the mansion and a plantation breakfast for 2. A $350 value. The inn is located on the grounds of Hummus House Plantation and Gardens in Burnside, Louisiana. A 2018 Rex Proclamation, created by well-known New Orleans artist Tim Trapolin. It includes images of early New Orleans, La Louisiane, presenting one of the earliest city plans, flanked by Iberville and Bienville, and an alligator. A 2018 Rex Parade Bulletin, depicting the designs of the floats illustrating this year's theme, L'Ancien Nouvelle Orléans, Ancient New Orleans. Parade sketches are drawn by Manuel Ponce, and the bulletin and its corner art are created by Matthew Hales. Both posters are courtesy of the School of Design. A copy of the books Mardi Gras Chronicles of the New Orleans Carnival by Errol Laborde, and New Orleans the First 300 Years, featuring over 20 essays by some of the city's most noted journalists and scholars, edited by Errol Laborde and me, Peggy Scott Laborde. Both books are courtesy of Pelican Publishing, and a DVD of tonight's program. We'll tell you where to send your answers later in our broadcast. And we're so delighted. Chief Warrant Officer 2, Demarius D. Jackson, who leads the Marine Corps Band New Orleans. What was it like to be on the dance floor tonight?
Oh, it's definitely exciting. It's a first-time experience for me, and it's I would say one-in-a-lifetime kind of experience. I was very excited to be out there.
Did you program the songs tonight?
Yes, I did. We went back into history. You know, it's our tricentennial year, so we tried to tie that in with our programming for tonight's program. Yeah.
You have a musical background, and you had that first before going into the Marine Corps.
Yes, definitely so. So I went to college first. I got my undergraduate degree in music and saxophone performance, and later got my graduate degree in jazz studies. So yes.
You played with some pretty fancy people, huh? With Aaron Neville.
Yeah.
And who else?
I got the chance to play with him, Jennifer Holliday. I got the chance to play with Wayne Bergeron. And a lot of those experiences were within the Marine Corps as well as outside of the Marine Corps. So I'm very blessed to have that experience.
Well, go ahead, Errol. I'm sorry.
Would you have a great group of musicians? What would happen, though, if there was some sort of military need? Would the whole band be subject to being called up into action somewhere?
Well, it all totally depends. You know, our main mission and our MOS are as musicians, but we also serve a secondary mission as security and perimeter security if we were ever deployed to an environment. For instance, when I deployed in 2007, we were attached to 2nd Marines, 10th Battalion, 2nd Battalion, 10th Marines, down in Camp Lejeune, and we were in charge of perimeter security for Camp Fallujah. So we all got to deploy as a band in that instance.
Yeah, you gave a little bit of a historical background on some of the music tonight too, and that obviously you like music history as well.
Definitely so. Like I said, I like to tie in and try to make our programming relevant to here.
How many parades did the bands march in? And you brought in some extra bands, didn't you? You got a little bit of help?
Definitely. So Marine Corps Band New Orleans, they actually marched in 10 parades, total over 50 miles on our feet. So that's one thing. And then we brought in 2 bands, Quantico Marine Corps Band and also Parris Island Marine Band in South Carolina.
Well, it's such a joy to listen to you all tonight, and thank you so very much.
Thank you so much
really
for having us. It's definitely
Absolutely.
a pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure here
Thank you.
too. Now let's go back to the dance floor for a moment, and people are still visiting. We have to point out that this ball is really a reception, if you will. And so a lot of people are visiting. They're visiting and not just dancing. And also there aren't call-outs.
There are no Yeah, it's not like the traditional ball, but what's happening, though, is that the stage is being set for the Comus ball because Rex and his entourage have gone across the street, or they're going across the street to the Comus ball, and which is really colorful, and we're going to see the final and closing moments of the Mardi Gras season.
And we have another guest, the voice of the Saints and of course, Rex, Mark Romig. How many years have you been doing this,
This
Mark?
is my 26th year.
26. Now, we should say by day, you are the executive director of the New Orleans
Tourism Marketing Corporation and working with the Tricentennial.
Yeah. and really heading up your motto is heading up the Tricentennial.
The many Indians around, the many workers around the
but that's been a multi-year plan, though, too, hasn't it been?
It has been. But this is, what a great night.
Well, let me point out something that Mark was involved in that was really just major, and that was with Mardi Gras when they couldn't use the stage anymore at Riverwalk, and you were part of that effort and maybe led the charge of coming up with a new temporary
Well, it really
stage
worked
and
out
finding
for
one.
us. Obviously, Spanish Plaza was under construction, and we turned to the convention center, and they were very welcoming, and the Riverwalk folks thought it would be another good way to bring Rex to New Orleans. And the train stopped at Julia Street and met Errol there, and then the mayor was there, and then Zulu came, and we had a great crowd last night. And the fireworks look great. And Errol, thank you for what you do. You keep it moving, and
I gotta share this moment though.
You've got 30 minutes of craziness on that stage.
But like for those who were involved with it, later that night, Mark sent out a text message that said,
"Touchdown!
Touchdown! Mardi Gras!"
Let's talk about some.
It was so great.
It was so
it really
fun.
was.
Let's talk about, first of all, your dad had a very golden voice as well, Jerry Romig.
In fact, Dad got me into this. One year he was emceeing the Le Debut, the debutante event, which happens in the summer. It's sort of the kickoff event for the carnival season, for the debuts of the many young ladies. And we had a death in the family, and he wasn't able to do it. And I had just moved back to New Orleans, and he says, "Mark, would you do this for me?" And that was in 1988. And so it sort of stuck after that. I think Dad said, "Mark, it's yours." And then in 1993, King Milling, president of the Whitney Bank, approached me while I was working for Peter Mayer Advertising and said, "We need a new orchestra leader or master of ceremonies for the Rex Ball. Would you be interested in doing it?" And so in 1993 I started, and here we are.
Well, Mark, it's great to have you being able to sit down. You've had a busy night.
Yeah, it's nice to sit
hearing
down.
Your voice.
It really is. I need
Welcome
a little.
to this side of
I
the
need
throne.
some liquid from my throat in a minute, and I'll take care of that. But
well,
it's
and
great.
thank you for all you do. You're so active in the community. You're on many, many boards, as well as the day job. But you do a lot of volunteer
Well, and thank
work.
y'all for what you do for Mardi Gras.
we most
You really
appreciate
make it special for so many
Well,
people.
Happy Mardi Gras.
Happy
Thank
Mardi
you for
Gras.
being with
And
us.
happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Peggy.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Take care. And now, though, here is a reminder about a special event benefiting WYES that has a 70s feel all over it. Thank you. And we are back, and rejoining me is Errol Laborde. In just a few minutes, we'll be visited by Dr. Stephen Hales, of course, too. But we want to show you, once again, how this crowd is very much a visiting crowd, if you will. And we're going to have Dr. Hales join us and talk about some special things. Of course, we have plenty of show and tell, of course, but we still have a ball here. I think that people think that once the court itself goes away, that there's no more ball, but there still is a ball.
This is the general dancing part of it. And when I was off to the other side doing those stand-up interviews, one thing I noticed that we don't see on this side too often is that there's a whole other world over there with a hallway where people are getting drinks and walking around with champagne. And so there's the fun part going on too, that people are just drinking and dancing and having a good time. Even though a sizable part of the ball guests have gone across the street.
Yeah, but we still have plenty of guests here.
For the Comus Ball.
And Dr. Hales is once again, Stephen Hales has rejoined us to talk about some of the wonderful little details, the ephemera and mementos of Carnival. Let's start out with Rex and the tradition of the ducal.
That goes way back to the beginning. The oldest tradition in the history of kingdoms, if they need money, they sell titles, right? So the early funding of the Rex organization came from dukes of the realm who received ducal decorations.
And the larger one, of course, to the left
for the male men, and then the ladies' pin. And these are now crafted so carefully. This came from a medal the Duc d'Orléans was portrayed with that has some of his emblems on it. So it ties into the tricentennial theme of the year this year.
Absolutely, and we should point out also that this year, as is usually the case, Rex, the King of Carnival, has his own personal pin that he bestows to many of his family ladies. And explain the significance of this, please.
And Poco, and of course, Poco's wife Liz is a jeweler. They made beautiful jewelry. This is an intertwined R monogram, the motif that was used for many, many years in the early history of the Rex organization, and Poco chose to bring that back as a beautiful monogram with a crown.
And also on the back of the mantles, the lieutenant's mantles,
yes,
too,
indeed.
don't we?
Yes. You'll see that going down St. Charles Avenue and all those lieutenants on horseback.
Yes, and as Arthur mentioned earlier, doubloons are still popular, and please show what is depicted on this year's.
Yes, indeed. We traditionally, that bust, that profile of Rex, the King of Carnival, and on the reverse, the theme each year, lovely engraving that cites this tricentennial theme and illustrates that with fleur-de-lis and so on.
Yes, and then the Rex cup, those plastic cups, they keep on going, huh?
Yes. You know, for all those first decades, people didn't throw anything from floats. They came to see rolling works of art. We would not dare not throw things now, even though we do have beautiful works of art. But the cups, the doubloons, the beads, each of our floats now has float-specific cups and pillows and beads, so that many parade goers get very antsy if they can't collect the whole set. The 27 different beads, cups, all those float-specific throws, we really started that up several years ago. It's become very popular.
And Rex has risen to the task of having good throws, but it's unfortunate. I wish more people would stop and pay attention to what's being said on the floats.
Yeah.
Because a lot of thought, a lot of work goes into the
I am so glad you said that, because we're into float designs big time, because to many Carnival aficionados, the work of 19th century float and parade designers for Rex, Comus, and other crews is worthy of display in a museum, as WWL-TV's Eric Paulson shows us.
The era historians call the Golden Age of Carnival is preserved in photographs and some rare films, but not nearly enough to fully appreciate the artistry of Mardi Gras during that time. Fortunately, float sketches and parade bulletins give us a glimpse of what the Carnival crowd saw on the streets more than a century ago. To Rex artistic designer Henri Schindler, there are few people as talented at producing a parade during this golden age as Bror Anders Wikström.
He definitely was the dean of carnival designers.
Wikström was born in Sweden in 1854. With artistic training in Stockholm and Paris, he came to New Orleans in 1883, and 2 years later, he he began designing the Rex Parade. But the job involved more than just floats.
He designed the costumes, he designed many of the invitations, the jewels. When I started studying these people and their work, I just thought of them as float designers. But the more I got into it, the more I realized they were production designers.
Wickstrom is the focus of an exhibit at the New Orleans Museum of Art on view through April 1st. The artist has been a name at NOMA for years, but not because of Carnival. This cabinet he designed was donated to the museum in 1914 by the Westphal family.
It's a confection of swirling mermaids and plant life, and I became very curious to know more about the artist behind it. His name is actually on this building at NOMA, carved into the architectural frieze.
Wickstrom's carnival history includes designing Rex parades from 1885 to 1905 and Proteus from 1900 until his death in 1909.
The sheer output alone would be remarkable. What sets Wickstrom apart is his devotion almost to whimsy and to fantasy.
Among the highlights of the NOMA exhibit is a full set of Wickstrom's designs for the 1904 Proteus Parade entitled The Alphabet. Even rarer is a bound volume of his sketches for the 1910 Rex Parade, titled The Freaks of Fable.
A young man named Phil Biondolo salvaged these from literally a trash heap on St. Charles Avenue. His mother was emptying the contents of a mansion they had just purchased.
The sketches, along with other examples of Wickstrom's works, are preserved at Tulane University. They're invaluable tools for researchers, but more than that, they show that when it comes to Carnival, the more things change, the more things, thankfully, stay the same.
To me, in Wickstrom's designs, you start to see this sense of whimsy and joy and fantasy. And I see that continuing today. When you go onto the streets, you see people in their pink wigs and their butterfly wings, and you don't always have to be something. You be whatever you want to be, with a real sense of joy and whimsy that makes Mardi Gras special.
Stephen, I know that this artist was close to your heart too, isn't it?
Oh, Bro Wickstrom, just what a wonderful legacy of art. NOMA's staff did a magnificent job of pulling this show together. We loaned several things from our collection, and the curators were actually able to connect those sketches, and it's the first time I've seen an early sketch, a complete sketch, and then the parade, an image from the parade. That's so rare in those early years. Wickstrom informed the artistry of float design in a way that created a golden age, but I do believe that in returning to that care in how we design our parades, how we design floats, Henri Schindler's been pivotal to that. I like to think of this as a new golden age. When I see the Rex Parade rolling down the street, I think those who conceived early parades would be very pleased with what they see. There was a point where we lost some of that, but I think the spirit of Burr Wickstrom lives on, and beautiful floats are rolling on the streets of New Orleans.
Yes, and this man was so prolific, and I also understand that he was quite the bon vivant. So he would entertain. He lived on Exchange Alley, and he would entertain friends, and around that time, I guess the art set, if you will.
The art colony in the French Quarter. Then, I mean, there were magnificent
amazing
artists at that time. And they really did believe that they could do lots of different kinds of art. So there is Wickstrom, a sculptor, Wickstrom, a woodcarver, Wickstrom, a float designer. That may have been a side gig, but he was a magnificent classical artist.
Incredible. When you're talking about the new golden age, I believe that too. I think something that's helping draw more attention to float design, and I know you're part of this, is the parade bulletins. Yes. Being able to bring that back. And so now people can look in their newspaper and see with the floats. And you got to think captains got to be thinking about that now.
Yes.
That people at their breakfast table
want
can
it to be memorable.
Can look at how floats are designed.
Well, I have great news because we are going to the other side of Canal Street to meet Comus, this year's Comus, the Mystic Crew of Comus, and we will see his awakening, if you will, which happened moments ago. Comus behind the scrim, starting in darkness at the Comus Ball, and the mysterious is, now remember, Comus is a god, and so he kind of trumps the king, if you will, but his debut at his ball is a very momentous occasion, and it starts out in the dark, and trust me, he's there, and he's always in a mask, and he is anonymous, isn't he?
He is. His identity is never revealed. The Comus Queen, of course, will know, but Comus remains a mystery.
And we also were treated to, a little bit earlier, the dancing heads, which is a real highlight. These are historical figures based on some of the early parades. Isn't that
some
right?
of those early sketches that survive, some of the earliest images we have of a classic masked carnival ball are of the mystic crew of Comus, and these beautiful dances and the large heads, and you will see them throughout the evening. They don't get to go in the other room and take them off. They're part of the images that really help define the Comus side of this celebration. And there's that contrast. Rex's ball was always an imperial reception, more a public reception without masks than a masked costume ball. The Comus ball, much more the other tradition, the masked tableau ball that would have been typical in Paris at that time.
Absolutely.
So New Orleans, being a more European city than an American city at that point, brought those traditions here. Nice contrast between two balls. I'm glad that they get the royalty get to come together and celebrate.
Indeed. And now, though, it is time to meet the Queen of Comus. And what a high honor that is, of course. And this year's Queen of Comus is Anne Summers White, known as Summers, and she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. John Forrest White, Jr. And she is attending the University of Alabama. She's a junior. She's a communications major with a minor in environmental sciences. And what a family background, of course. Her aunt, Allison White Zuber, was queen in 1985. Her grandfather, John F. White, was a page in 1950 when the Duke and Duchess of Windsor attended Carnival. And her father, John Wade Jr., was a page in 1988, and her brother, Jack, in 2008. And resplendent dress, as we will remind you that Comus's color is silver. And, of course, Rex is gold. And let me tell you about her dress. She's wearing a strapless A-line gown of pale silver lame with an overlay of delicate silver netting designed by Kathleen Van Horn. An intricate lace pattern of scrollwork, leaves, and vines adorn the bodice, cascading down the front panel of the dress and continuing in a wide band around the hem. The lace is encrusted with silver bugle beads, Swarovski crystal, rhinestone, and aurora borealis, navettes, lock rosins, and margaritas. Vertical rows of rhinestones trim begins on either side of the front panel and encircle the dress from the bottom of the bodice to the top of the hem band. And the ensemble is completed with the organization's traditional Medici collar, which you see there, fur-trimmed mantle, crown and scepter, and royal jewels. And Summers White, Anne Summers White, is our 2018 Queen of Comus.
And she was escorted by Jonathan McCall, whose father for many, many years almost defined Comus, was a very major figure in the Comus organization.
And now, though, we are going to introduce the pages. There are 4 pages. There are 2 Queen's pages and, of course, 2 Comus pages. And we'll start first with Master Tucker Caldwell Graham. And he found out that he was going to be a page. His parents gave him 3 statues, and 2 represented his brothers who had been previous pages, and then there was this extra one, and he realized, it's for me. And he attends Stewart Hall, and he is in the 5th grade, and his brothers, of course, Devon and Ian, were both Comus pages, as we said. And now we have Nathaniel Pope Phillips IV, page to Comus, known as Neil. And he is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Nathaniel Pope Philip III, Trinity Episcopal School. He's in the 5th grade, and he was just told, like, good news, you're going to be a page to Comus, and he was thrilled with that, of course. And Brandon, and we have our Queen's pages, Brandon Ferret Favreau. You'll meet him in just a moment. He is one of the Queen's pages. And he is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Timothy Semmes Favreau. and he attends Trinity Episcopal School, 5th grade. And the way he found out was he was being driven to the fitting for a fitting of the costume. And they say, by the way, you're going to be a page. And then finally, Cooper Southern Woods. He is the other page to the Queen. We'll be showing you him in just a minute. There you go. And he is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Thomas Cooper Woods. He attends Metairie Park Country Day. He's in the 6th grade. And the way he found out is that he was given orange juice in a Comus cup. And it was like, that is how he found out. And he just thought that was very fine. His mother, by the way, Elizabeth Meredith Southern, was courted in 1986. His aunt, Sarah Foster Southern, the court of 1979, and Warren Haynes Southern in the court of 1976. And we'll be introducing you to our maids shortly. But let's do that now, as a matter of fact. Caroline Bailey Acom will be our first maid. Here we go. And she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Dwight LeBlanc Acom, and she attends the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss. She's a junior in hospitality management. And her family, of course, was very involved with Comus, and her Louise Janke Acom Small Page, 2008, sister Margaret Acom, 2011, and sister Kathleen Ryan Acom in 2011. And we have, next up, Miss Margaret Ann Bryan, and she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. James Randolph Bryan, and she is at Texas Christian University. She's a junior, and she's majoring in early childhood education with English as a second language. And her Virginia, of course, her sister, is in this year's court too. And next up is Virginia Curran Bryan, and as we said, she is also the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. James Randolph Bryan. She is a junior at the University of Georgia with a major in finance and minor in women and gender studies. And she was in Le Début de Jeune Fille de Nouvelle-Orléans. And it's sisters this year. No, Julia Murphy Gran, and she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Harold Hughes Gran. She is a junior at the University of Virginia, and she was in the Mithras and Momus balls. And then Sarah Elizabeth Graham is next. And she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Brooks Yates Graham. She is a junior at Auburn University, and she was in Les Débuts, Mithras, and Twelfth Night. And we have Charlotte Worley Yuji, and she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. James Middleton Yuji. She attends the University of Virginia. She's a junior, and she's majoring in accounting and finance. And her sister, Anna, we may remember, Queen of Rex.
Queen of Carnival
Your Queen of Carnival. And next up is Lane Watkins Nolte, and she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Morgan Shaw Nolte. She attends Washington and Lee University. She's a junior. Psychology is her major, and her minor is art history. And her father, Morgan Nolte, was a page. And next is Mary Fleming England Red, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Edmund England Red, and she is a University of Virginia junior. And her sister, Elizabeth Flower Red, and her mother, Ann Stewart Flower, grandmother. She has quite the illustrious Comus past, as a matter of fact. Cousins were pages, too. And we have Catherine Kergosian Simmons, and she is known as Kat. She's the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Richard Lawrence Simmons, Jr., and she is attending Florida Atlantic University. She's a junior, and her aunt, Ashley Simmons Bright, and Georgia Monstead Simmons have been maids in past Comus courts. And then we have Eugenie Cecile Wielden, and she is the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Michael Burton Wielden. She's a junior at LSU. She's majoring in accounting, minoring in psychology. And her brother, Michael Burton Wielden Jr., was a page in the 150th anniversary ball in 2006, and her uncle Hunter Gay Wielden was a page in 1969. And we have the court of the Mr. Crew of Comus, and these beautiful maids.
We have twins in the Comus court. We have twins on the rec side. The Bryans here, the Feringa twins on the rec side, one a maid and one a debutante.
Yes, indeed.
So we're looking back at the past. 50 years ago in 1968, Comus still had a parade, and they were celebrating the 250th anniversary of New Orleans. So that theme was with us, and their theme was "We Love You, Je t'aime," celebrating the 250th anniversary. The problem is that the parade was an hour and 50 minutes late, reaching Gallier Hall. So I don't know if the audience was still as enamored with Mayor Skiro. He kind of thought that the crew was a little bit getting kind of tired. He said, "Man, get busy. I mean, get some energy and finish up this parade." And they did. But it was the days of seeing the Comus parade and the closing hours of Mardi Gras was just a wonderful, wonderful sight. Seeing that those old floats, and they had like a wobble factor to them.
Errol, one of the things too, I like the way the Comus ball begins with that darkness and then that light coming on. One of the realities for the Comus parade was it's wanted to appear out of the darkness without a whole lot of planning in the early years. It was quite magical.
Absolutely, and we see that the captain of Comus is very busy. He's trying to clear the floor because we are awaiting the historic meeting of the courts of Rex and the Mystic Crew of Comus. So it's time for our ball goers to kind of settle down and to clear the floor. And once again, we want to welcome to our live broadcast. Joining us this evening are Errol Laborde, editor of New Orleans Magazine and author of the book Mardi Gras Chronicles of the New Orleans Carnival, and Dr. Stephen Hales, pediatrician and archivist for the Rex organization and author of Rex, an Illustrated History of the School of Design. And here's the Rex Crossing. Coming from the Sheraton, this is the court of Rex, and of course His Majesty and Her Majesty coming across.
Rex crossing Canal Street.
Rex crossing Canal Street to the Comus Grand Ballroom.
New Orleans' newest grand tradition. And there's a crowd that gathers to see this. Yep. It's wonderful.
It really is quite a tradition. We also want to thank our friends at Louisiana Public Broadcasting because we're being seen statewide on their LPB3 channel. And of course, you can watch us. We're streaming at WYES.org. We're so excited to see this, and as you said, a lot of people gather to watch this tradition.
I mean, this was a tradition that grew out of necessity. Post-Katrina, with now balls on opposite sides of canal, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when this solution was developed, but it's an elegant one, and as long as it doesn't rain. Plan B is to have limousines that will circle around and bring the court over.
The first time there was a meeting in the courts, Rex's ball was at Washington Artillery Hall, which was beyond Gallier Hall, and Comus's was at the French Opera House. So it's probably about a mile and a half away. So you couldn't have had this convenience. And of course, that was back in the days of carriages, and so they were able to hurry him over there. But now this is at least walking across the street. But nothing was as convenient as at the old auditorium, where you just walk down the back hall.
And we're hearing the trumpeters once again, Dr. Todd Engelhardt and Ben Toman, having a busy night, announcing the arrival of Rex and his queen. Here they are.
Again, fanfare
Ben
of
on
Babes
your
in
left
Toyland.
and Dr. Todd on his right. That's right, from Babes in Toyland. Here we are.
You see, now they have the Comus plumes.
Yes. Good point. If ever I cease to love. Coco Sloss, King of Carnival 2018, with his beautiful queen, of course, Sarah Jane Hope Queen. For an historic moment here, the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus.
And a beautifully choreographed moment. This is simply beautiful. It is dance, it is tradition. Lovely moment as Comus greets Rex and the Queens of Carnival and the Comus Queen greet. And the pages.
Since the 1880s, this tradition has taken place. Arthur Hardy was here earlier and he said it's either 1882 or 1884. It's a little bit of a question, but that's okay.
Yes,
here we are, the meeting of the courts. And in charge of it all, the captain of Comus.
and he is a very able captain. Coco Sloss right now, the King of Carnival, is, I'm sure, very confident, very rehearsed, but it is a powerful moment. And having the Comus captain absolutely confidently guiding this beautiful tradition.
And once again, notice the canvas, the Foster awning canvas, and the emblem this time is the cup, the magical cup of Comus, which we'll be talking about shortly. And notice that Comus is not carrying the scepter, but he carries the cup. Now they're switching off, aren't they?
They are. The Queen of Carnival will await Comus, who will come and escort her on the Grand March. Then the Comus Queen and the King of Carnival will position themselves behind them, and this beautiful Grand March will begin.
Let me tell you why I think that first meeting in the court would have been in 1882 rather than 1884. Because 1882 would have been the 10th anniversary of Rex, and it would have been the 15th anniversary of Comus. So I could just kind of see these guys, you know, sitting over toddy at the St. Charles Hotel, pointing out we've got 2 anniversaries. Yeah.
Good point.
And then Rex that year. Oh.
Yeah. No, good idea. Good theory. And Comus is anonymous. He is always masked. For many years, and perhaps still the case, the mask itself was imported from France. And it's really up to Comus himself, whoever that gentleman is, as to whether he's smiling or not smiling. Isn't that right?
Well, I think we have a happy Comus tonight.
I think so.
Greeting the Queen of Carnival.
And notice the cup, as we said. And of course, the import of the cup is that in mythological, the world of mythology, the cup was filled with a special potion, and whoever tasted of the cup of Comus would be turned into half man and half beast, but that person didn't know it. So that's a little bit of a dilemma there. So Comus was a little scary, too. And Robert Maxwell is conducting the Jimmy Maxwell Orchestra on the Comus side.
Really a lovely dress created for the Queen of Comus. That's another art form preserved and continued here. Absolutely magnificent work.
And my understanding is that the Queen had some input in that, as probably queens do, but she was very excited about the lace itself. And wearing the official jewels of the crew, the Lily of the Valley. Both the earrings and the necklace, of course, depict them. And she seems very comfortable in her role, doesn't she?
Indeed. And the King of Carnival has a new tunic tonight. That's the first time that beautiful tunic has been worn. He wore last year's tunic on the parade today, but this was created from old motifs from some very, very old images and sketches from early Rex history.
And I just spied Jimmy Maxwell in the background there, so he is attending the Comus Ball and at the helm, as well as his son Robert. They know that song, don't they, Air? They can do that in their sleep, correct?
I think many of us will hear that in our sleep as we go into Ash Wednesday and beyond.
Yes. Great vantage point there. And Air, what are we about to hear?
The other great piece of march music, which of course is the Grand March from Aida. Very, very stirring. And we've pointed out that Aida made its debut in the Cairo Opera House in December of 1871, which is only a few months before the first Rex Parade. So they're contemporaries. They're of the same time. Now, it was many years before the music got to New Orleans, but It just so happened that they both started around the same time.
There's such a long and wonderful opera tradition in New Orleans in its early centuries, really connecting to European roots in a way that really was far more dramatically expressed here than in other American cities. Many premieres of operas here. The French Opera House, obviously a cultural center that lent itself well to the spectacle of the meeting of the courts.
And of course, Comus held many of his balls, at the French Opera House, which was a perfect venue for it.
Yes, indeed. Well, and the musicians were professional, well-trained musicians, so this would not have been strange music to them at all.
There's even a story many years later when the performance of Aida did come to New Orleans, that during the performance they were able to stop it for Rex to arrive. So they had a Rex arrival during a performance of Aida, which shows that these people, how powerful they were, but also that they were all, the theater people were probably involved in Carnival because it's something that would have been second nature to them.
The workshops, the artist workshops, too.
But the business people and the political people probably supported opera. They were all in that same circle. I mean, to be able to stop an opera, to have Rex come in, I mean, show us some kind of clout, you know?
Well, he's a king, Errol.
Yeah.
We do have our fanciful kingdoms here, and they are fanciful indeed, but a lot of careful work goes into to this day of celebration and tradition. Coco's had a wonderful day. He has brought energy to this, and he doesn't do anything halfway. I think one of the reasons that he is such a beloved choice to be Rex King of Carnival is his devotion to the city in an uncompromising way. He wants it to be better. He's actually accepted an appointment to the Sewage and Water Board, which is a major need in this city, and may need all of the powers of the King of Carnival before he's through. But Coco loves the city and is devoted to it, and that's in the very best tradition of the Rex organization.
He's also building the Public Belt Railroad, which has had its issues too in the past.
Now, coming up is one of my favorite scenes, and that's when all the monarchs, which you will remember very fondly last year, when they all scepter simultaneously. Did you have to take sceptering lessons?
We did. There are, I think I went 4 times, and very able instructors who help us learn that choreography. Because this isn't something you want to just wing and hope it comes out okay. When something's gone on this long and these rhythms and traditions and images are part of such an important celebration in the history of the city, a lot of care goes into it. And the pages, I had wonderful pages. These pages tonight are doing a wonderful job. A very long day for them, and every encounter I've had this evening with them, they've been cheerful and ready to go and do their jobs.
And among the young ladies who teach protocol, Helen Butcher,
yes, indeed,
Helen Nolte Butcher, and Shelby Westfeld Mills, carrying forth the tradition of Diane Souchon, and I'm sure some others.
Yes. Very patient instructors. Some of us are slow learners. There we are. Well done.
Very well done. Now, general dancing will begin, and there really is a lot more general dancing, isn't there, Eric?
Yeah, but let me tell you, we're building up now, because this is the part, if you're watching at home, when I always urge champagne and moon pies, okay? Because we're coming down to really defining moments of the carnival season. You're seeing Comus. Comus started, of course, the continuing parading tradition. So this is the crew that's responsible, but in a little while, we're going to see this ceremony where the captain lines up everybody and they essentially close the curtain on Mardi Gras. And so we're coming down to the finale of the carnival season. So it's actually,
yes, and we're about to visit with the Queen of Carnival in a previously taped interview. But before we do, we cannot go much further without a wonderful quote from a carnival historian, Perry Young, and the Mr. Crew, the author of a book called The Mr. Crew.
Yeah, Perry Young wrote this book in the 1930s, and actually he was commissioned by the Comus organization to write this book about Comus, but it was more than that. It was about carnival during that period of time. As it happened, the captain who commissioned them died, and there wasn't the funding to finish it. But ultimately, they did. But Perry Young was a talented writer, and for as long as we've been doing this broadcast, we've had this quote. When Henri was here, we used to have Henri recited, and we both agreed that it's probably the best passage ever written about carnival. So this was part of Perry Young's introduction in the Mystic Crew, where he says, "Carnival is a butterfly of winter, whose last mad flight of Mardi Gras forever ends his glory. Another season is the glory of another butterfly, and the tattered, scattered fragments of rainbow wings are in turn the record of the day." And so this image of a butterfly of winter is just a beautiful image, but he goes on to talk, when he talks about the tattered, scattered fragments of rainbow wings, what he's saying in the next paragraph is that there's so much to it, so much to carnival, so many little fragments out there that it's hard to collect it all. And so you can best rely on the image of what it is, but it's a beautiful passage.
Absolutely. And memories of being the Queen of Comus are indelibly etched for some young ladies and made even more special when they're shared. Here's my interview with this year's Queen of Comus, Ann Summers White.
I attend the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, and I'm a junior. My major is communications with an environmental science minor. Some of my favorite things to do are definitely to be outdoors. We have a farm in Mississippi, so I love to be there with my family and hunt and hike and anything like that. I grew up with a lot of animals on a farm. We have neighbors that, have cows and sheep. I have a dog named Levi at home, and he's just, he's my favorite. Some of my favorite and early carnival memories would be with my grandparents. We would go down to the Louisiana Club, my dad would ride, and we would see the parades from there. I never really watched the Rex Ball live, but I like to watch it with my grandfather after, because he's just so involved in Mardi Gras, so he would play for me and we'd watch it together, and he'd, commentate through the whole thing and tell me everything I needed to know. I was told I was gonna be queen because my parents I'd come in for spring break, and they'd given me these envelopes with different years on them, and inside each one was a clue and a photo. So one was when my aunt was queen, and there was a photo of her. I kind of went through the different years, and then it was 2018, and there was a clue, but there was no photo. And I think I still thought oh, I was just asked to be in it, it was a great honor. Then my mom brought out my favorite cake, which is chocolate dovage with Queen Summers 2018, and I think I've never turned so red in my entire life because I was in such surprise, but then I realized, and it was just amazing to hear. Some of my relatives that were involved in Carnival were my Aunt Allison White, my brother Jack, and my dad, who were pages in Comus as well, and then my cousin Jane White, who was Queen of Carnival a few years ago. I do know the Queen of Carnival. Our families have been friends for a long time, so it will be exciting to share this moment with her. My last few weeks have definitely been busy, and in the summer, we had presentations and Thanksgiving presentations, but the last few weeks I've done, Momus and Atlanteans and Mithras, and they've been great experiences, and I'm so glad that I was a part of them. My dress is made by Kathleen Van Horn. It is a white dress with a silver lame, and that was very important to us because we wanted to make sure that we were showing the silver that is Comus's color, and so it wanted to be shown on Mardi Gras night so that everyone can really see it. It's covered in jewels, and we hand-picked the lace, and we fit it to the dress to make it organic looking and made sure everything was flowing. And I think one interesting part about it is that my entire dress is made here in Louisiana, here in New Orleans. All the beading is hand done. It's a very custom-made dress, so it's something I'll never be able to wear again, and I'm very excited that I got this honor and got to wear it. The shoes that I decided to select were just ones that I've worn in past balls, so I wanted to make sure that they were broken in and they weren't going to hurt my feet. and then Kathleen Van Horn will decorate them for the night of. So the jewels I'll be wearing Mardi Gras night are the Comus jewels that are passed down to each queen, so I'm very honored that I get to experience that and wear them. And they have, the Lily of the Valley motif, which goes into it, and I think that it will complement my dress very well. I don't think I knew that I was going to be in the center of this, of Comus, but I hoped that I would be in it and be a part of it. So I think it was definitely a surprise to know that I was asked for this honor.
And once again, congratulations to our queen. And we have to show you some lovely pieces of Comus history and ephemera. First of all, the Mr. Crew of Comus invitation to the ball. And the theme this year was the French Opera House, was it? They still maintain a theme, even though they don't parade.
I think that's a wonderful nod to that history. And the Comus invitation will always be a traditional invitation calling on that history. The French Opera House, such a wonderful part of Comus's legacy and history.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that we should point out that those are so collectible and so special, and so people really value them greatly. The other thing is, even though, as we said, Comus no longer parades, they still mint their own doubloon.
Yes.
And we've got, once again, the French Opera House on them, because the maskers dress out. They're in costume on the Comus side, while, of course, Rex does not do that. But the doubloons are still highly thought of, and they're given as keepsakes.
They are, and that connection to the parading tradition.
And Comus
the Comus
pin.
pin, absolutely beautiful. The Lily of the Valley, so deeply connected to Comus, beautifully wrought here in enamel and gold. Lovely.
Indeed. And then, of course, Comus also has a favor for the Queen, the Comus Cup, which is
it's a
nod signature.
It really derived from a 19th century Comus favor, nod to that.
And then we the Comus Queen's pin, too, is very special.
Yes, indeed. This you heard
describe that to us, yeah.
Yeah, the Comus Queen talk about her farm in Mississippi, and there you have dogwood, you have a feather, you have antlers all gathered into a bouquet. So that is a very personal and lovely expression from the Queen of Comus.
Yeah. And now it's time, though, to thank those who made tonight's broadcast possible.
Funding for the 2018 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Streetcars rolling down the tracks and Iberia Bank, both are part of today's New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. The Gustav Westphal McElhenney Family Foundation supports the renewal of New Orleans and the ongoing process of transforming our city's schools. Rex organization volunteers and the Pro Bono Publico Foundation are helping assure that every child in New Orleans can attend an excellent school. Brennan's Restaurant offers Chef Slade Rushing's modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, Roost Bar, and Courtyard. Brennan's, over 70 years in the French Quarter. 417 Royal Street. Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com. The Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is also sponsored by the Riley Foods Company and French Market Cold Brew Coffee, New Orleans' own soul-fueled coffee concentrate.
From that first interview with the customer, you become a friend.
We're the local guys. We're there to work with them, and we know them, and they know us. We're not answering to some far-off corporate office someplace.
Our bank has always been a part of the community.
Christwood, a retirement destination located in St. Tammany Parish, features cottages and apartment homes along with the assurance of quality health care. Personal tours are available. The New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation wishes visitors and citizens a happy Mardi Gras during New Orleans' tricentennial year. New Orleans visitor information is available at neworleans.com. Support comes from Emmett Dupas, Wealth Management Advisor at Northwestern Mutual, specializing in finding solutions to help companies and their employees reach their financial goals. Chaff McCall, proud to celebrate Carnival and honor the monarchs of Mardi Gras and the tradition of service before self. Poydras Home, independent living, assisted living, and nursing care in the heart of Uptown for 200 years.
Seeing the dance floor reminds me of the days when WDSU did broadcast the Comus Ball, and it was, of course, just the meeting of the courts from 11:30 to midnight. Now, we know WYES, and we're so fortunate that we can do this, has expanded this greatly, of course. But the memories of that, we were just glad it was there, weren't we?
Oh, yeah, as a kid, I watched it every year with my mom. I mean, it was a ritual. There was some grand, what was it, Gay Batson, I believe.
Gaines Batson,
and then
yes.
Ann Merrick and different people. It was pretty tightly scripted. You actually never saw the talent. They were somewhere up in the balcony in the auditorium, and so you got there just in time for the arrival of the courts or for the meeting. And then there was the descriptions of the gowns, and I'm still amused to this day hearing talk about bugle beads, because I remember as a kid hearing talk about bugle beads, and the bugle beads are still there. And then that was it. I mean, they did that within a half hour, and then after that they did a highlights program. But a lot of people got to see what there was an opportunity to do, and it's the kind of show like you could only want to see it one day a year, and it was that.
Yeah. And from the auditorium.
It was an important broadcast. It was at the municipal auditorium. They had that music. They had the same sort of music, and so it was a throwback. And I think that this broadcast, which is far expanded and has much more to it, I mean, I hope it contributes the same way in terms of people understanding the culture of Mardi Gras. You know, in the time that we've been doing this Mardi Gras, the girls who were queens and maids weren't even born yet, okay? And they've been able to grow up and see how queens and maids react. When you think before that, before television, a girl was queen. That might have been the first time ever the Carnival Ball.
Our first broadcast was 1997, and it was in time for the 125th anniversary of Rex. And so, yes, some young ladies certainly did grow up with it too. But
I think the reach
it's such
of
a
this
delight.
broadcast is just tremendous. I mean, the number of people, not just here in New Orleans, and not just people who are involved with Mardi Gras, going to balls. It is part of our culture. It's part of our tradition. It's part of what makes New Orleans different from any other city. And I constantly hear people say, watched it, we loved it, we watch it every year, and it's part of our a cultural legacy that we can preserve in this way and tell a story.
Absolutely, and we were so fortunate that we can actually track last year because of our YouTube channel, and with the fact that we're streaming this live, that it was seen by folks in over 40 countries. And I actually did get an email from a gentleman in San Antonio, and I know that's not another country, okay, but anyway, who asked me about the tradition of sceptering. You'll love that, Stephen. Like, what's the history of sceptering with Rex and Comus, because he was involved with an organization. So who knows how we can pollinate, there'll be maybe more king cakes being ordered somewhere else too. But we were seen in France and the Sudan, which I thought was pretty unusual. But what a joy to think that maybe this will influence somebody.
I figured the Sudan had to be the United States Embassy. I couldn't imagine anywhere else in Sudan where it would be. But yeah, if this does anything to just spread culture and how people did things, and the history we can provide and the elegance of it.
This connects back to the city's beginning. We're celebrating 300 years, and often when I have visitors at the Den, for example, really specific. Rex didn't invent Carnival, nor did the Mystic Crew of Comus. I mean, there has never been a time without Mardi Gras since European settlers came here. They brought with them traditions. They certainly knew about crowns and scepters, didn't they? And I've always thought that some of those early efforts to create mystic courts and mystic societies and so on really did help connect to similar things going on in Europe. Their peer cities at that point really were more European cities than certainly any of the cities in the American South.
Absolutely. So what we're seeing here is the clearing of the dance floor. Once again, we remind you that the captain of Comus is very much in charge, and they'll be clearing it for the departure of Rex and his queen. Here we go. This is a busy man.
So we're coming to the final official moments of Mardi Gras.
Yes.
And a new captain of Rex.
Well, I was just going to ask you about that. You saw it with your own eyes.
I admire and love these men. The level of care and the amount of service given by those captains who were out on that floor, every living captain, turning over authority to a new captain. This is a job that is exacting, that requires a great deal of time, a great deal of care. The departing captain, a dear, dear friend, a man I admire and love, has guided this organization over the better part of a decade. And his successor, another superb leader who will serve the organization well, knows the traditions, is a careful, thoughtful, wonderful captain.
And they don't get paid.
This is totally a volunteer. Maybe we should remind people of that. You may not be aware of that.
That's an important point because
That's
there are some organizations with.
Yeah.
If this isn't a full-time job, it is nearly one, especially as one gets closer to carnival season. There's so many elements of this, parades to prepare, balls to prepare for, and the service elements now, especially through the Pro Bono Publico Foundation and Rex efforts in other ways, continue that tradition through the year, even if there's not a parade or a ball in sight. And I think that that has added real meaning in our organization, and has, I think, been in the best tradition of the founding of the School of Design in 1872. Pro Bono Publico means a great deal now.
Go ahead.
We're talking about the secrecy in Comus. Hardly anyone knows the identity of Comus. The way Comus is selected is the captain. The captain picks him, that's it. And so conceivably, they're the only two who know. Whereas with Rex is more of an organization, like a committee that selects him.
Mm-hmm. Stephen, what were some of your memories of being on that throne?
Oh, that was wonderful. In fact, the Queen of Comus last year, Avery Rowan, a lovely young woman. So to be able to in fact, Comus was different. So here were four of us for an evening, a god, a king, two queens, and trying to make sure we didn't bumble any sceptering or choreography, because it is complex. But it was happy. These were very bright, talented young women, the Queen of Carnival and the Queen of Comus. Comus, the Comus captain, the Rex captain, all working together. Very happy approaching this point when, in a very orderly, traditional way, the monarchs of Carnival will depart the Comus ball, one at a time, with lots of sceptering, lots of bowing, lots of applause, and the curtain of Carnival will come down in the way it has for nearly half of our 300 years as a city. I reminded Mayor Landrieu last year when I toasted him that my predecessors had greeted his predecessors for almost half of the city's life at Gallier Hall.
A most magnificent building.
Yes, it is, and beautifully restored now. Goodness sakes, it does the city proud.
1850s, yeah, beautifully restored. And that really being one of the signature events of the Tricentennial. That's been very much a focus. First Lady, Mrs. Cheryl Landrieu, that has been her baby, to renovate, to have Gallier Hall renovated.
They're the final scepters as a group. And the Comus Queen will be escorted off. Yes.
And the protocol here, even though Rex is in Comus's house, Comus leaves first.
But we don't take offense, Errol.
Yeah. Well, on the surface it may seem rude, but Comus is a god, so I guess a god has priority. So a god gets to leave first.
Final wave of his cup to his queen. Summers White's family has had long connections to the Comus organization. and beautiful queen tonight.
And such a delightful young lady. When I had a chance to, to visit with her, so easygoing and happy queen.
And obviously very popular with the audience.
The crowd here, yes. And once again, we are showing you this event that's coming from the Grand Ballroom of the Marriott Hotel on historic Canal Street. Live.
Behind those two masks are two very good friends. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Drank it dry.
I love the thing about the page. You found the page by getting the orange juice and
In a Comus
Comus
cup? Orange juice in a Comus cup.
I could use some of that myself right now, right?
I love all the different ways they find out. Some really cute stories.
And the King of Carnival will say goodbye to the Queen of Carnival.
Big smile from our King of Carnival.
Blowing her a kiss.
And so there's plenty more evening, isn't there? The Queen's Supper.
Queen's Supper will...
Both queens usually are involved with that, aren't they?
Yes, indeed. These the invitations come with a beautifully intertwined monogram of the two queens. There's Sarah Jane Freeman, a lovely young woman and the beautiful Queen of Carnival. And Poco Sloss, a worthy Rex.
Let's see if he... Oh, here we are. Oh, something planned.
You're bringing Chris. How about that?
Oh,
that's nice.
Bringing him. And we were told that we could say, because he's no longer captain,
This
Christy
is
Brown.
Christy Brown, beloved captain, wonderful man, wonderful friend, and an appropriate recognition. And goodbye, Poco Sloss, King of Carnival 2018. And his pages.
And so now, Errol, the big moment coming up, huh?
Now what's left is in the hands of the Comus captain. He's going to say in some farewell words to Christy Brown. And
those two might as well be brothers. He'll join his lieutenants, and quite literally the curtain will come down on Carnival.
March 5th, something to look ahead to. That's a late Carnival, 2019.
a great shot. Silhouettes of the people in the front.
Mr. Crew of Comus, the end of Carnival, MKC. Another wonderful carnival, and we're so glad that we can bring this to you, the Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus.
Overall, I think it was a good carnival season. The weather was a bit threatening, but in the end, a couple of cases wasn't as bad as foreseen. And so it seemed like it was a fairly safe carnival.
Yes, it
A couple
really
of incidents, and the parades were good, and there's a lot of, well, there's just a lot of
people participating in Carnival too. It just seems to be a lot of growth in the activities. They're good signs.
Absolutely. And here is our third and final Carnival quiz question.
Now, our third and final quiz question. What do the initials MKC stand for? You can email your answers to carnivalquiz@wyes.org, or you can mail your entry to Carnival Quiz, WYES-TV, 916 Navarre Avenue, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70124. The deadline to receive the entries is Monday, February 19th at 5 p.m. The entries must contain the correct answers to all 3 questions. 1 entry per person, please. Those entries will be put into a drawing, and winners will be announced on WYES's Steppin' Out program on Friday, February 23rd at 7:30 p.m. and 11 p.m. The names of the winners will be posted on WYES's website, WYES.org, the following Monday. We also welcome your comments about tonight's broadcast. Once again, email us at carnivalquiz@wyes.org. Good luck on the Carnival Quiz.
And just a reminder that a copy of tonight's broadcast will be available by calling 504-486-5511 or going online to WYES's online store at WYES.org. The price of the DVD is $29.95. By the way, our broadcast will be repeated in its entirety immediately following the completion of this broadcast. Thanks so much to our own crew this evening, Jim Moriarty, executive producer, Barbara Sillery, our producer, our director, Will Morrow, our technical director, George Matulik, our chief engineer, Fred Barrett, and associate producers, Kelsey Schreiber, and as well as Burke Bischoff. Photographers, Lenny Delbert Sr., video editors, Lenny Delbert Jr. and Larry Russery, and production assistant Sharon Snowdy and Estelle DeVergis. And special thanks to the School of Design, as well as the Mystic crew of Comus. And of course, thank you, Errol and Stephen. What a ride, and it was fabulous. And thanks to WLPB for helping us share this broadcast with our viewers statewide. And thanks to all of you for watching. We now leave you with George Schmidt and the New Leviathan Oriental Foxtrot Orchestra with the Anthem of Carnival, If Ever I Cease to Love. Good night and happy Mardi Gras.
In a house, in a square, in a quadrant, in a street, in a lane, in a road. Turn to the left, on the right hand, you see there my true love's abode. I go there courting and crewing to my lover like a turtle dove,
Funding for the 2018 Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is made possible through generous community support. Streetcars rolling down the tracks and Iberia Bank both are part of today's New Orleans landscape. We believe in making our community better by giving back through charitable, educational, and cultural efforts that enhance our city, such as this broadcast on WYES. The Gustav Westphal McElhenney Family Foundation supports the renewal of New Orleans and the ongoing process of transforming our city's schools. Rex organization volunteers and the Pro Bono Publico Foundation are helping assure that every child in New Orleans can attend an excellent school. Brennan's Restaurant offers Chef Slade Rushing's modern interpretations of classic Creole cuisine served in Brennan's elegant dining rooms, Roost Bar, and Courtyard. Brennan's, over 70 years in the French Quarter, 417 Royal Street. Fidelity Bank, as New Orleans as king cake, parades, beads, doubloons, and the families that get together to celebrate them all. Serving this community since 1908. Hail Rex, hail Comus, happy Mardi Gras. Support is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of legal services to a wide range of local, regional, national, and international client base. Online at joneswalker.com. The Rex Ball and the meeting of the courts of Rex and Comus is also sponsored by the Riley Foods Company and French Market Cold Brew Coffee, New Orleans' own soul-fueled coffee concentrate.
From that first interview with the customer, you become a friend.
We're the local guys. We're there to work with them, and we know them, and they know us. We're not answering to some far-off corporate office someplace.
Our bank has always been a part of the community.
Christwood, a retirement destination located in St. Tammany Parish, features cottages and apartment homes along with the assurance of quality health care. Personal tours are available. The New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation wishes visitors and citizens a happy Mardi Gras during New Orleans' tricentennial year. New Orleans visitor information is available at neworleans.com. Support comes from Emmett Dupas, Wealth Management Advisor at Northwestern Mutual, specializing in finding solutions to help companies and their employees reach their financial goals.
Adler's, honored to be part of New Orleans traditions since 1898.
Support comes from Baker Donaldson, lawyers and advisors proud to serve the business community and support local programming. Shaft McCall, proud to celebrate Carnival and honor the monarchs of Mardi Gras and the tradition of service before self. Poydras Home, independent living, assisted living, and nursing care in the heart of Uptown for 200 years. Additional support by Bellwether Technology. Additional funding is provided by the law firm of Adams & Reese, Jonathan C. McCall, Richard CPAs, and J. Edgar Monroe Foundation.